I can
Cool.
mute. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the stream. Doing a nice debate against two lawyer hacks. You know them. It's Ryan Mullally and that Gen Z guy. They defend January 6th. They have no principles. Let's see
I
if
don't know
they have
where your
anything
buddy is,
interesting to
Gen
say. Why
Z.
are you so loud, Wick?
Don't know either. He's got scheduled to go live at 6 on his YouTube, but I don't think he's live yet.
I called ice on him.
I knew it.
We're getting all the Irish and the Scots out of here. Only the
Pretty funny.
Swedes and the pure whites can stay.
As God intended.
Here's what we're gonna do because we do have a limited time. We are going to start, and we're gonna give him some time to get here. If he can't, I'm gonna see if I can tap while we go some buddies for you, Gen Z, or if you have a buddy you can think of. We'll see, but I'll do that on the back end. But with that, let's go live and let's get this shit show started. Okay.
All right.
Welcome, one and all, to yet another episode of WIC TV. It's a cross-ideological space where we come together to talk about issues both political and cultural, from the silly to the serious. Ladies, gentlemen, we got a show. We're going to talk about the Alex Pretti shooting. Tragic event. More information has been released since we first saw the video. We're going to be talking about sanctuary cities, whether or not they are contributing to some of the violence that we've been seeing these past few weeks. We're going to be talking about democratic rhetoric, whether that's contributing. We're going to be talking about ICE agents themselves and whether they're solely to blame for all of this. We got a lot to cover, not a lot of time to cover it, so we're just going to get in. Ryan Mullally should be with us hopefully soon. We're going to give him another 5 minutes or so. And if he doesn't show, we're going to have to maybe get a buddy for Gen Z. So if you are more on the right-leaning side of this and you want in, just start DMing me and maybe we can make it happen. But with that, let's give the mic first to Soy Pill, and we'll just kind of go around. Soy Pill, hit it.
Yeah, I don't have a specific position. ICE is obviously way underqualified for what they're doing. They're being used to enforce the executive branch in ways that have nothing to do with immigration, like trying to acquire the voter rolls. They're acting with impunity. You can look at all the leaked videos from Bovino, who's gone now, thank God, but talking about how, hey, if they touch you, you can just arrest the fuck out of them. Don't care. You know what I'm saying? Wink, wink. It's just corrupt to the core. It's disgusting. All of these killings are completely unnecessary, unjustified, and have nothing to do with actual mass deportations, because if they actually gave a shit, they'd, deport people instead of doing what they're doing now and just terrorizing people and trying to enforce other policies from the executive branch. It sucks. It's terrible. I'm really curious how people will defend the shootings. I'm not curious. I've seen it. It's just really dumb. So let's get into it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being here. Looking forward to it. Next up, we have Sid. Second time on my channel, actually, but I think first time on an actual debate panel. So let's see what we got. Sid, tell people who you are, what you do, and what are your thoughts. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. I'll just make it really quick. My name's Sid. I go by @LilBabyGodly on Twitter. I'm really interested in public policy research, so I'm really interested in how the left can create policy that will last over time and that can get people involved in the left movement. And what I think about ICE is pretty much concordant with what Soipla was saying. I think they've become a dangerous quasi-paramilitary organization that has murdered 2 Americans in cold blood over the past couple weeks or month or whatever, and the administration has jumped to basically defend them and to lie about the people that were killed and to besmirch their character. And I think that what's going on is really disgusting. So I'm not excited, but I'm interested to see what we get into today.
Okay, well, thank you for being here. We're going to get to as we go. And Gen Z, don't worry, Ryan has he's running a little late, but he's on his way. So you'll have the cavalry will be arriving soon. Okay, so you won't be just you. So hopefully he gets here soon. But in the meantime, Gen Z, give us your thoughts. Tell people who you are, what you do. You know the drill. Go ahead.
Well, yeah. So actually, I just went and saw the Two Towers extended in theaters on the re-release, and I'll be holding down Helm's Deep until Gandalf comes over the ridge. So we'll be okay. But yeah, hey everybody, Gen Z attorney. I've been here a few times. I'm a solo practitioner attorney in North Carolina. do pretty much anything litigation related, civil, criminal, family, and got a deep interest in constitutional issues as well. But as far as what we're doing here, you can find me there on YouTube. I don't really post as much anymore just because since I launched my own firm, I'm kind of absorbed in that so much so I'm having dreams about it now, which is probably not healthy, but that's okay. Either way, talking about what we're here today to discuss, I'm appreciative of the opportunity because I feel like the scene in Zoolander when Will Ferrell's character Mugatu starts yelling about how he feels like he's taking crazy pills because some of the explanations I'm hearing people argue in regards to these situations,
Will we
specifically I
get
want to
a
address the Renee
third
Good
movie
shooting
reference?
and then the Pretti one after that, and then because I see them both. I see one is a lot more legally clear cut than the other, but of course we'll get into that. I think ICE generally has a valid function, valid reason for existing. It's federal law on the books. If you don't like the federal law on the books, we got a legislature to change that. But so long as the law is on the books and there's an executive that's been elected to enforce that law, then there's not only is there a right to enforce it, there's actually a duty, an obligation to enforce the laws on the books. Certainly, we can argue about tactics and whatnot, but I feel like with the whole idea of abolish ICE and similar sentiments, seems like we're disagreeing with the actual law in the books itself, not just the tactics for enforcement. But either way, yeah, of course, lots more to talk about. Happy to get into all of it. So thank you for letting me be here, and let's throw down.
Okay. With that, I guess the first question, I guess to kind of start us off, um, was the Alex Pretti shooting justified, either legally or morally? What do you think?
So that one is the closer call for sure than Renee Good. Definitely want to get to Renee Good, but we can start on the pretty stuff. I know Ryan's probably gonna have some thought. Well, actually, if you don't mind, I'd prefer to start with Renee Good because I know Ryan will have thoughts on Pretti. So just to loop him in, if y'all are good with that, because I had some questions because that's one I think is a lot more clear cut. And my
Okay.
friend over here, Lil Baby Gandhi, said they're both murder, so I kind of want to hear. I
Okay. Well,
assume
how about this then, Gandhi, Mr. Sid? Why don't you tell us why you think
Mhm.
Renee Good was a murder, and then we'll go from there. Cool.
and real quick, Soypil, do you agree that Renee Good was murdered?
Murder is kind of a strong word. I would say negligent homicide, maybe manslaughter. It depends on how it works with law enforcement. But I mean, honestly, you might have a better legal term for it. I don't know necessarily that this guy was, cold-blooded murder. I think is a strong term. But the difference is negligible. She shouldn't have died. It's because of this guy's incompetence. So
Okay. All right, yeah, Gandhi, please go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Call me Sid. Please don't call me
Sid,
Gandhi.
okay, I got
Yeah,
you.
maybe it was a bit of yeah, maybe it was a bit of a rhetorical flourish, but I think yeah, it was negligent. I think um, it was an excessive use of force, and to see like the defense of her being basically shot when she was just trying to get out of the way of these ICE agents, and then shot through her side window about 2 or 3 times, I found absolutely reprehensible. So that would be my take on it. I agree with you that the Renee Good one is not as um, clear as the Alex Pretti one, but that would be basically my view of it.
Okay, so I hear what you're saying about her intent was to get away, and actually I agree based on my reading of it. I would not be surprised that it does appear her intent was to escape the scene. But we realize that the legal analysis doesn't hinge on her intent. The analysis hinges on the officer's perception and whether or not he had an objectively reasonable assessment that he was in fear of either death or serious bodily injury. Do we all agree that's the legal standard we're dealing with?
yeah, I would just argue he wasn't being reasonable at all.
Okay, fair. Said
Yeah.
you're with that as well? Because you're the one that brought up the her intent.
Yeah, I mean,
Her intent is irrelevant to the case.
yeah, I mean, sure. I'm probably not the best caught up on the legal analysis side of it, so I would defer to what Soypil is saying.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, even just legally, I honestly, and I hate granting you this, Shinzi, but you probably understand, weirdly enough, the legal analysis, despite every stupid thing I've ever heard you say. You are a lawyer, so I'd assume you understand the legal standard a little better. But, like, just to clarify for Sid, if she was trying to kill him and she, like, drove 180 degrees in the wrong direction and he shot her, his reasonable standard that he had fear of his life, that made no sense there, right? Like he was not in danger if she's driving away. She's just a really, really bad driver and executor.
If he was driving away, sorry.
Like
It's hard to
let's say
follow.
like she like had the full intent to try to kill him and she was backing up. And she never
Okay.
went forward and she just like did not know how to drive, right? Like that doesn't matter because in his eyes there's no reason for him to believe that his life was in danger at that point. So her intent doesn't matter. I'm just trying to clarify that for Sid.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, because that's a frustrating point because like, look, I'm conceding to everybody. Like her intent, I think, was apparently to get away, but that's just not the standard here. And in fact, we've got case law specifically. I know Jeb Tan brought it up in a debate I heard here. He and I talked about it before that debate. But the case called Tusis versus Billiot. It's not Supreme Court, but it's a federal appellate court decision. It upheld the use of
Two
force as
cis. They can't
reasonable
help but bring up
in a
trans
case
people.
where a federal agent actually they had a car that was stopped that was closed in. The car turned its wheels away from the agent and started to slowly accelerate. And during that time, the officer had a fear of death or serious bodily injury. We got to keep in mind that's part of the standard as well. And he shot and killed the driver. He was sued over that, and he was held to have qualified immunity as a objectively reasonable use of force. So, do you guys think that case was decided incorrectly, or what?
I've literally never heard of this case, so I can't say like how.
Yeah.
Well, the
I
point
also
I'm bringing it up is like
I have to highlight that I'm Canadian, so any legal analysis that you bring up is totally beyond me. I don't think I have a good understanding of the American legal system.
Like, yeah, we don't
Oh.
like. Hold on, let me just start this way. Like, I've seen tons of cases where a guy is in front of a car and someone's accelerating and it looks like he might be in danger, and I think it's a justified shoot. I've seen ones where they're driving away and the cop is hanging off the side of the car, and it's like, hey, like I can't jump off now. You're going 50. I have to shoot you to stop this car. There's plenty of ways that this could be justified, but if we look at just this Renee Good case, it's like so obviously unjustified to me that I think it's not even close to reasonable for him to think, oh, I need to execute this person. My life is in danger. So,
And just
yeah.
just as a kind of an aside here, there's two things I want to stress for this conversation. I don't want us to get bogged down in a single issue because there's a lot to talk about. So not only do we want
yeah.
to talk about Renee Good, but
Well,
there's sanctuary cities, but there's Alex Pretti. But I'm allowing this conversation, right?
yeah, no,
And
I appreciate.
two, I want to make sure that we don't just stick to like we aren't only having a legal conversation here. We're having
Yo,
a moral one.
Wick, is my mic working, by the way?
Your mic is fine. It's your camera that sucks.
Yeah, my camera scene is off. Sorry, by the way, guys. I had
Ryan, this is going to sound patronizing and stupid, but I have this problem in Discord. Literally unplug it and plug it back in and then turn it on. Like it does this sometimes. I don't know why.
That's fucking weird. I'll give it a shot. Sorry about that, guys. By the way, I'm in the middle of a work emergency.
Yeah, we are live, by the way. So just
yeah.
Don't
I understand.
Any slurs or nothing. But yeah.
Well, you know, Wick, I only do that when you talk dirty to me.
True.
All right, 1 second.
Yeah.
So
Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, I appreciate it, and yeah, I agree. I don't want to dwell too long. The reason I wanted to start here though is because this is what accelerated this into this basically the forefront of the national discussion over this specific case, over ICE generally, over sanctuary city policy, and I just think the takeaway that we're hearing, because this goes into the broader point of that I'm going to have for this entire discussion, which is that I think Democratic leaders, both local leaders, state leaders, federal leaders, are actively encouraging and creating the conditions for more people to get shot and killed in such a way that they are the ones that are primarily culpable because of the way they talk about cases where you both came out and said this is either murder or manslaughter, and like 2 steps into the legal analysis, we're kind of wiping our hands of like, well, I don't really know. And
well,
so I
hold
can't
on.
really
To be clear, Jenzy, you're talking about a case that we don't know about. We're talking about specifically this case right here. And if you're going to say Democrats calling this murder is responsible for incompetent ICE agents shooting people when they shouldn't is ridiculous. You can't blame that on Democrats. At the very first, you got to blame it. Like you're skipping past even the protesters, like the dumbass argument that these people are instigating and deserve death. You're like, no, it's actually the Democrats' fault for saying objectively what they see is not okay. Like that's insane. Come on.
Well,
and also one thing I want to push back on is the fact that every Democrat politician involved in Minnesota, Tim Walz, Jacob Frey, has gone out of their way to say that every protest that is happening is peaceful, and every organization that is involved in this protest has made it their mission to make sure it is peaceful and nonviolent. So I entirely disagree with the idea that somehow it is the Democrats instigating this cycle of violence when they have markedly always called for peace in these past couple of weeks.
So you don't think there's any quotes of Jacob Fry or Tim Walz talking about how this is a new civil war, or they need to cause good trouble, or Stephen Colbert just last night was talking about how ICE are worse than Nazis because at least the Nazis had they showed their face. You don't think any of that is contributing to people getting out and physically impeding, obstructing? You're just going to laugh it off.
Well,
and say
Gen
that
Z, I think that talking about ICE and all the bad things they do is absolutely contributing to people going out and being upset by it. Also, you could just record them and see, wow, this is fucking awful, and I'm upset by it. But I won't even humor this point until you admit the same for Donald Trump in inciting January 6th. And if you can do that, then we can move on in the conversation. But otherwise, I won't.
Well, I'm saying you're not going to concede the point. You want to bring it back to a different topic. We can have a
No.
different
I'm just
discussion.
saying, if you want me to acknowledge that Democrat politicians are at all accelerating this with their rhetoric, I think you have to do the same for Donald Trump, or else I don't trust you and you're just being bad faith.
Yeah, well, actually,
And
no,
would
no,
you
no.
would you do
I
would you
will.
do would
I
you do
will.
this?
As much as I love to hear people accuse other people of bad faith early in a conversation, it sounds so much fun.
No, well, it's
Wick,
only early because I know who you guys are, to be clear, Ryan.
Hold on. What's up, Ryan?
Do you want me to restart and try to fix the tech issues, or go camera free? Because it doesn't seem to be working.
Shit. Can you try one more thing? Can you try leaving the call, and then I'll bring you back in the call, and if that doesn't work, then we'll just go camera.
Yeah, I need to restart because I'm not
do
getting
it
the
real
issues
quick.
on my end. But if you
We'll
can do it,
get back to you,
okay.
Ryan.
All
Okay.
right, sorry about that.
No, try it one more time, and if that doesn't work, cameraless. Okay.
So,
Sorry about
to your
that. I'm gonna
point.
let Gen Z respond.
Like, and just to be clear, like Gen Z, like I'm not doing this as a whataboutism. I'm doing this because I know you're an avid January 6th defender, and I know that for a fact that you've like dick sucked Trump through the entire cycle of that news. So I'm curious if you're trying to hold us to the standard of, well, Tim Walz said that this is really bad and you should go out and protest, but also be peaceful. If you're going to look at that and say this is contributing to people getting shot by ICE when, you know, it's still ICE's fault, then can you at all blame Trump for what happened on January 6th? Because if you can't, then I just don't trust that you're using the standard in good faith.
A couple points in response then. I will. Well, first off, I don't know how you know what I was saying during the news cycle January 6th or after.
We had a debate about it. I don't know what you're saying at the exact moment.
Okay, so the debate about it, I can just to briefly summarize my feeling is that I disagree. I disavow the riot. It completely got out of hand. And yes, I will buy the bullet that Trump's rhetoric contributed to everything that went down on January 6th.
Okay.
My only difference where I don't think I wouldn't rise to the level of insurrection is I think to forward a novel legal theory that's going to get shot down by the Supreme Court. That's not. That's happened multiple times throughout this country's history. It can be as crazy as a theory as you think it is, but if
Okay.
it's
Sure. Well, that's a different argument, but okay. So you do
Well,
concede.
hold
So
up, real
no, wait.
quick.
Let me be good faith because I said I would do this. All right. So cool. You do admit that Trump led to it. So now my question is, the reason I think Trump did this is because he lied to everyone about like what happened in the election. He, you know, if you were truly in a belief that the election was stolen, I think some sort of like January 6th type thing might even be justified depending on how you look out, like what you were going to do if you literally thought the vote was stolen. Now, if Tim Walz has said something similar to deceive or lie about the actions of ICE that might incite these people past what I would think is reasonable, that is what I would need you to show me.
So
or Jacob Frey. You also mentioned Jacob Frey.
Yeah, I can give you some of the quotes, but what I would challenge in response as
if
well.
If you want to DM them to me, I can show them on screen too.
Yeah. What I would challenge in response as well, though, and this is my open challenge, I put it out on X, is can anyone provide me a single quote where, yes, we get the people that say, well, like, we need to get out and make your voices heard and exercise your free speech and protest. I hear that. I agree. That's all constitutionally protected activity. Okay. Do you ever hear, when these statements are made, an explicit instruction to not obstruct, to not impede, to not interfere? Or is it just a vague, go out and well, it said cause good trouble. That was what he said the other day.
Well, yeah, what do you think good trouble means?
Yeah, I mean, a protest is good trouble, right? We agree. I mean, you have a constitutional right to protest. That's good trouble.
When you're saying I was good friends with John Lewis, who was causing good trouble, i.e., intentionally breaking laws that were unjust to the point of proving to the people how unjust they were, such that the law would get changed. That's what's good trouble. So if you guys would concede that good trouble means intentionally breaking the law, then yeah, we can move on from this point.
So theoretically it could, but again, so you're using this to say that this is the reason people are getting shot, right? So I would say good trouble might be like during segregation doing sit-ins, which was against the law, right? Would you say that this is like something that could lead to people being shot, and you would blame the people who got shot by, let's say, pro-segregationists here? Not to make you look racist, to be fair. I'm sure you are, but for different reasons. Like, does that? I'm just fucking with you, dude. Like, does that? Okay, cool. Does that in itself, like, oh, well, I'm telling people to do sit-ins, therefore it's my fault they got shot? Like, when he says good trouble, is he saying, hey, go and brandish a firearm in front of ICE officers? A thing that hasn't happened, by the way. Like, this is what we're talking about, right? Like,
I'll tell you,
what law is being encouraged to be broken?
Well, they're encouraging people to obstruct and impede and interfere with the enforcement of the federal immigration law on the books. But to answer your point directly about the comparison to the Civil Rights Act and sit-ins, tell me explicitly, what did MLK and other leaders of the time, what did they instruct people to do when they were being arrested? What was the number one thing that everyone had to adhere to?
I don't know, follow the law? Is that what they said?
to submit to give in to submit to the arrest when it happened, even to the
Okay.
point where dogs are set out, hoses are turned on them. The whole point was peaceful, non-violent resistance, because that's what created the image of the stark contrast of like these people are being overtly peaceful and they're getting brutalized. Can you name me a single one of these situations where it is people that are being overtly peaceful, that are not attempting to interfere
Yeah,
or
Alex
obstruct in any
Peretti
way?
filming them, a woman getting shoved in the face for filming them, and then getting shot in the back. That was overtly peaceful.
We're probably gonna have to watch the video. Zero Fucks put the angle up on Twitter,
If you
but
want a
he inserts some.
specific video, you
Are you are
gotta
you about
DM
to
it to
say
me. But otherwise, I got
inserting
a lot of
yourself
videos
in
on this.
between ICE agents and whatever they're doing is not peaceful?
Yes, if you make physical contact, yes.
Did he make physical contact with them on purpose
He
before
did.
he got
We could
shot?
show. We could show you. We could show you the
Wait, hold
slow
on.
mo.
Are you going to
Yeah,
show me
send it
the
to me.
video
Send it to
from
me.
before?
Well, hold on.
Okay.
Instead of guessing, send it
Yeah.
to me. I will put it on screen, and we'll
Just
watch
so you know,
the
Wick,
stream.
if the shooting is involved, it gets demonetized. I've already had this happen. So, like, if the video includes the him getting gatted 6 times in the back.
Oh,
Gen Z, are you talking about the video where the supposed video where he's kicking the taillights out, or are you talking about the actual shooting?
No. I'm talking about the shooting itself. I'll just say quickly
Okay.
on the taillight video. That's not legally relevant, but I think that is morally relevant as far as the.
and to be clear, I showed that. Hold on, Soy Pill. I showed that all day Saturday, and I didn't get. I got my monetization.
Sorry, I guess
limited a
only
little.
big streamers get demonetized.
Yeah, I guess not all us. Look, as a white man, I have special privileges that perhaps.
Wait.
They went after me for being a quarter Latino.
Y'all are making money off this? What's going on?
Yeah, it's crazy. Anyway,
I'm not.
send it
Hold
to
up,
me.
real quick. The chat's not working. I can't say anything.
Send it to my DMs.
You know, you're so right. See, this is why they pay you the big bucks.
True.
To be clear, also, if we're still talking about like even putting your hands on an officer, like whether that's I'm in between them and I'm holding my hand up while he's about to shove this woman for no fucking reason, I still think that's peaceful. Like unless he's like actually assaulting them, I don't think.
Let me ask you this:
Yeah.
If someone and I do want to wrap up on the Renee Good thing, which maybe we already did because
We didn't really.
You guys well, you guys kind of don't want to engage on any of the substantive points about the law, which is to me the only operative point as far as if this is a legally justified shoot, which even I mean the chief of police in Minneapolis even said verbatim, it doesn't matter if this is legally justified, which I think is just insane. I mean, I can get that quote for you as well.
Yeah, but to be clear, you're presupposing it's legal justified. I don't think he had a reasonable fear for his life here. So.
And I'm telling you, based on analysis of cases on ultra hyper similar, usually we don't get precedent that is this similar of a fact pattern, but this has already been analyzed by a federal appellate court before and has been upheld to be objectively reasonable. So
wait,
you're just saying,
no,
are you saying the court was wrong?
You know, the appellate court analyzed the case that you brought up, and if that case was adjudicated and said, hey, this was reasonable, that doesn't mean this case was reasonable. It just means that that case was. Now, maybe you can apply similar standards to it, but it doesn't necessarily follow that the Renee Good situation is 1-to-1.
It's a matter of whether or not the facts are similar. This is the problem with precedent: is oftentimes the factual predicate for each case is not very analogous. I'm telling you, we have a case involving a car with wheels turned away from the officer, accelerating slowly, where the officer shot and killed the driver. That was held to be legally justified. And you're saying, well, we can't really use that as whether or not that's informative on.
Well, I said I wasn't familiar with the case, and this doesn't necessarily justify the Renee Good one. If it looks like it's exactly the same, then I would say that for sure a court might uphold this as legally justified, but that wouldn't change my morals on it.
Okay, well that's really the main thing as far as because you agree.
To be fair, I'm granting specifically
Hold on.
there if it is 1-to-1, which I don't grant because I haven't seen it. But I mean,
Okay,
maybe we could look at it specifically.
We'll finish this point then. I guess we'll get to your video. It's up and it's ready whenever you're ready to get.
Yeah.
To that.
So the reason why I wanted to start with that is, like I said earlier, this is what catapulted the whole ICE discussion, sanctuary city policy, into the front and center. And when you've got leaders across the board coming out and uncritically just saying this is murder, when I think a modicum of legal analysis based on precedent, based on even the facts of this case, shows that it just simply was not murder. This was a legally justified shoot. How are we not going to conclude that the people who are out there saying no, this is murder and this is the secret police, the Gestapo, the Nazis, like how is this not actively making the situation worse?
I'm sorry. So the justification being that if they say something that goes against a legal precedent, therefore they're not allowed to say it, even though that polling would suggest that a majority of people view this as unjustified, it doesn't matter. They are making it worse by declaring their opinion that it looks bad?
So I know I've been like the worst guest ever, but I'm on Parachute again. Can I get a modicum of context? Are we arguing the
Sure,
law?
so
Are
We're
we
talking about the
arguing
yes,
Renee
the
Good
I'll
one
policy?
right now.
explain. I'll explain.
Yeah.
Gen Z wanted to start with the Renee Good shooting, and he's talking specifically to the Frey comments, to the Walls comments, to other Democratic leaders' comments. And his claim, as I understand it, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Gen Z, is that calling the Renee Good murder, calling it unjustified, is leading people to a false impression of what ICE is doing, which is creating a more dangerous situation that is getting people hurt. Is that a accurate
That's
representation of your case?
That's fair, and it's encouraging more people to be out and to take steps and put
Enter.
themselves in positions where now they are in the position of getting shot and killed. And I want to dispel something that's been driving me crazy as well. No one on the right is saying if you protest, you get shot. No one on the right's even saying if you
That's
resist,
not
you
true.
if you resist,
That
you
is,
get
yeah,
shot.
Cash
See,
Patel. Cash
I would,
Patel has said
I
that.
would caveat that to say no one in positions of power on the right is saying that, because I can find you some tweets. Like right
No,
Okay,
before
fair
the
enough.
positions
show.
of power. No, wait, hold on, Wick. Bovino,
People,
before he got
yeah,
removed,
let's,
literally
yeah.
said, "If you are calling us the Gestapo, there will be consequences for you." He's like referring like legal, like we'll come after you, sort of shit. Like this is absolutely not
Okay,
limited
you
to
recognize
one guy on Twitter. Okay, like this is the administration.
the
I
point.
guess so. I guess what I'm confused about is that, I don't know if you guys watched Tom Homan's comments today, but
I haven't seen
we
them. No.
seemed to. Sorry. What did you say?
Oh no, I haven't seen them. I don't know if Sid has.
Oh, okay. Like it seems like we've actually reached a little bit of a better equilibrium point where what he was talking about was, and I
Why
think
is the
this is in
guy
line with
spamming the
what
N-word
Gen Z
not
was
showing
saying,
up in chat so I
was that
can't
one
ban
of the
them? Like the
things
filter doesn't
about
filter it out
having
from Stream.
active,
It's
I
so
mean, some
stupid.
people call them protests,
Like
I
I
would
can't ban
say
them if they're not there.
interference, but having these networks of people who follow around ICE agents and then interfere with operations, it means that you need more and more people to do the same job. It takes 15 people to apprehend one person, but apparently a deal's been reached with Minnesota where Minnesota is going to be increasingly cooperative. And as a result, what he said at least is that there would be less people on the ground and they'd be relying more on getting, people who have been arrested or detained from and are in Minnesota prisons or jails and have them turned over to ICE, which would change the operation and make it, more efficient and less people involved. So I guess it's kind of, I almost feel like the whiplash for me is it felt like, this moment had crescendoed and we were starting to figure out an equilibrium of a better way of doing things. And then I get in this call and it feels like we're having the opposite conversation. So I guess that I'm just kind of whiplashed by the tone is I guess where I'm starting from.
Oh yeah, I think, and to address that, I mean, my broad contention over everything is I think that Democratic rhetoric is making everything worse. I agree. Hopefully that a deal's been reached and we can reach this equilibrium. But my main focus is kind of what brought us to this point, where now we have two dead Americans that people are calling murder without really much legal justification whatsoever or legal explanation. And when pushed on it, there's really not much offered other than, well, I think it is, or I think I say so. Um, I'm looking
Wait,
for
I mean,
any.
No,
when we
hold
talk
on.
about
No, go ahead, Sid,
when we
please.
talk about democratic rhetoric, I don't know if you're making it seem like it's some bloodthirsty thing that Democrats are talking about when it's
So,
being pretty anodyne stuff about your right to protest as an American.
so this is my point. Has anyone found a single clip of any of these Democratic leaders that when they're talking about how it's a patriotic duty, you have to get out and protest, are any of them explicitly stating to stay nonviolent, to not
Yes.
interfere, to not impeach,
Yeah,
not
they
Yes.
say
obstruct?
protest peacefully. I mean, peacefully by definition means nonviolently. Does it
I,
not?
I have to see
Well,
something.
this isn't, sorry.
I mean, look, Jacob Frey and Tim Walz, the mayor of Minneapolis and the governor of the state, have both said, "Go protest, but do it peacefully." By definition, that's
Hold on,
nonviolent. I don't know
sorry,
how
real
that's
quick, Brian.
some
Well,
bloodthirsty thing that you're making it seem to be.
But what's their response to the people that are out there who are not violently resisting in the sense of they are fighting, they're shooting, anything like that? What is their response to the people who have been illegally interfering, impeding, obstructing? People like Renee Good and Alex Pretti. Have they said what they did is illegal and against the law,
I
or have
No,
they
no,
said?
because the reaction to the much
is
the
it
react
illegal to?
Well, I was going to say, so
Sorry,
they're
go ahead.
reacting to the much worse part, which is not, oh, hey, like, hey, just so you know, I think Renee Good was fleeing arrest, and that's not good. Also, she got shot in the fucking head for no good reason. That's the part that everyone's outraged about. So if she had just driven away, not been shot, and been arrested, not a single person would be talking about it. It would just be like, hey, yeah, she got arrested. You should follow the law, be peaceful. But because she got shot in the head, there's some majorly different thing that everyone is focusing on, and you're like, wait, why isn't he talking about the fact that she shouldn't have been running away? It's like, well, because she shouldn't have been shot, and that's much worse.
What do you mean by no good reason?
As in, I don't believe there was a good reason to shoot her in the head. We can have an argument about whether or not he thought his life was in danger to a reasonable standard. The point is, everyone's reacting to the video that looks really fucking bad, like a guy murdered someone. And you're questioning what's missing.
But that's the heart of what Gen Z was getting.
Even if it's justified, but no, what Gen Z is at no, Ryan. Gen Z is asking, why aren't they talking to? Oh, don't be illegal, don't do illegal things, don't obstruct. And it's like, well, hold on. They're reacting to the fact that this is a grass.
This is not a minor point. This is a big deal. If you forcibly, by the way, under the law has a very loose definition, but if you forcibly interfere with law enforcement officers when they are conducting law enforcement, you're going to get arrested, and probably arrested forcibly. Mm-hmm. If you interfere with law enforcement officers with a deadly weapon, which a car is, mm-hmm. She didn't get shot because she was driving away. She got shot because she was forcibly interfering with law enforcement with a deadly weapon.
No, she got shot because a fucking pussy thought he was going to get killed while he was to the side of the car, to be clear.
That will get you shot.
Yes, often. Exactly, it will, and it shouldn't, and that's what Democrats are speaking up against. They're like, wait, this shouldn't be a death sentence, and everyone's upset about it.
The issue here, and I'm trying to be like dispassionate, because I too have a reaction when I see videos like that. But if your advice to people is implicitly or expressly, keep doing what you're doing, getting in these officers' face, interfere with them, you are going to get people very badly hurt. Because
is that what you think that Tim Waltz and Jacob Frey are saying? Get up in their face and interfere with them?
I think the point that Gen Z was making was that this is an instance where you need to actually be pretty precise, and you need to give people good advice. I think that the difference between peacefully protesting and blowing whistles and standing there and even cursing out the officers and being in the street and interfering with their operations is the difference between protected First Amendment speech and a felony that gets you 8 years in jail. So
okay. I have to ask you something.
A big difference.
Let's presuppose, and I don't expect you to have the same opinion as you. Let's presuppose that ICE agents are poorly trained and incompetent, and might kill you on accident if you interfere, even though you don't deserve death. Let's just presuppose that part. Would it be good advice to say, stay away from these people completely?
Probably, yeah.
Right. Sure, yeah. Probably, right? Like, obviously, it's like, hey, here's a fucking wild animal, essentially, who doesn't know how to use their gun or have proper training. You should just stay in your house. Now, if these people were doing things that everyone disagreed with and you wanted to go out and protest against it, should you still stay in home just because, hey, there's a chance you might get killed? Or should you stand up for your principles and say, yeah, go out and actually document and see what these fucking crazy untrained people are doing?
What you just did is the exact same thing that we were criticizing the speech for.
Right.
Because what you did is you elucidated over the difference between protesting and interfering. And the difference between protesting and interfering is the difference between the good advice and the bad advice. If you're protesting, it's First Amendment speech. I've got your back. It's great. Okay. If you interfere, you are going to go to jail. It's a felony that covers 8 years.
Now, can you show me where I or Tim Waltz or Jacob Frey encourage people to interfere?
You just
here's the problem. Exactly. Let me get on that directly. They're not. What they're doing is they're not saying to not interfere, and then when people do interfere, they don't say you should not have interfered.
Yeah, because they're focused. Again, this is where I was looping back to, and Ryan, I understand that whether or not it's justified is a core part of the argument in the Renee Good shooting. But what I'm saying is, if your point is they're not telling people not to interfere after they get shot in the face, it's like, yeah, because they still think the process is justified. And the much worse thing is the incompetent retard shooting them, right? So they're like, hey, I'm focusing much more on the fact that this needs to stop, not, hey, sometimes you get in between them with a camera, and you shouldn't do that. That's crazy, because this is what's like a totally understandable thing to do.
This is what I mean when I say that you're just gliding right over it. Like the correct thing to have said, and I understand that like politicians have other They have other goals. They very rarely say the correct thing. But the correct thing to have said is, if you're a Democrat, we have a problem with this. We do not support what's happening. We support your right to protest. You should protest. And
Okay.
also, FYI, what Renee Good was doing with her car was a felony. It was an arrestable felony, and don't do that because you're going to get arrested. Like, let aside the shooting thing. Just like, don't tell, like, responding
okay,
to that.
even if I were to grant,
even
if I were to grant you the legal analysis,
that, like,
Ryan,
she committed a felony is very bad advice. I mean, if I gave you advice and I left out the fact that if you followed my advice, you'd go to jail, I think you later on would say, fuck, that was some bad advice.
Hold on. You just glazed over the fact that you're implying that all of the advice Democrats are giving is to do things that would get you in jail, which is just not the case.
Can I add something really quick?
Go ahead, please.
I don't know why people hold two standards on these issues, because you're talking about a state where the president of your country went out on Truth Social or Twitter or whatever and said, the day of retribution is coming. And yet you refuse to hold him accountable for any of his demagoguery, any of his kind of violent speech towards what would make people rightly so afraid of the ICE agents in this stand.
Do I know you? Have we met?
No, I think it's probably our first time talking.
Okay, so then on what basis do you think that I don't have a problem with the way Trump talks or the violent rhetoric he uses?
Well, to be clear, Gen Z actually clarified, and he actually held him accountable. But Ryan, would you also have the same standard that, if you're you think that Trump is directly responsible using his rhetoric for January 6th? Because because I had a previous debate where you guys were talking about it, and I was like, if you're going to hold Democratic politicians to this standard and completely ignore Trump on Jan 6, I don't believe you're approaching this with good faith. And Gen Z, to his credit, said, no, I do think Trump's rhetoric absolutely amplified and caused this to happen. I'm curious if you have the same standard.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Caused is tricky. I think contributed is easy. And I don't think you can say Democratic rhetoric caused these things either. It contributed. Because cause is like a one-to-one thing. But I think.
Well, I agree. It is different because I think these people would still be out here without Democrat rhetoric. But Trump absolutely is the reason all those people were there. So.
Well, no, but I mean, would they be out there without the Signal group? Would they be out there without the support which is worth investigating? Like how they're running plates. There's a Minnesota state official who's in the Signal group and calls it a resistance movement. Which, by the way, to be the bearer of bad news for the people in that group, it is entirely possible that members of that group are going to get investigated and eventually prosecuted for conspiracy to interfere with federal officers. So
group chat.
That very well might be a federal crime. So yeah, I get off now so you have time. So I don't know that they're one-to-one, but I think that I do think I'm not even sure that matters because we're here talking about.
Well, we're talking about rhetoric from politicians, right? So we're comparing that, not whether or not there's people that might support it.
The other factor that's critical, because the rhetoric is one piece. The other piece that matters is the fact that this in sanctuary districts, and Minnesota's a little more complicated than most, but in sanctuary districts, you don't have cooperation between feds and locals. And one of the things that really would stop a lot of these bad interactions is having locals who are better trained to deal with crowds, to deal with crowd control. Like one of the things that struck me when I was watching the videos of the Alex Pretti shoot is that the fight started in the street, but the federal officers can't enforce traffic regulations. Same thing with Renee Good. She's in the middle of the street. Federal officers can't enforce traffic regulations. If you had local cops there, they could have taken the people off the street and given them a ticket for jaywalking. You know what I mean? And literally you could have diffused the whole thing very easily, very early if you had local cooperation.
Well, this is common ground. I agree. Better training from local law enforcement in the same way better training for ICE probably would have prevented these murders. So.
Well, it's not better training. It's just not possible. Like ICE can't, even if they had all the training in the world, they can't do some of the things that local law enforcement are allowed to do, at least not in a jurisdiction like Minnesota.
Well, yeah, but if they had better training, they wouldn't have shot a guy who was unarmed 6 times in the back. So that's what
I actually think I don't think that was a failure of training.
What do you think?
Real quick. Let me. I gotta jump in at this point.
Really?
The soy pill is not. You just said you agreed it'd be better training on the part of local law enforcement would help. The issue is not whether or not local law enforcement needs to be better trained. It's whether or not local law enforcement is allowed to cooperate.
Yeah, I understand.
What?
That's the
Yeah, I
issue.
understand, but I was just using it to point out that ICE is very poorly trained, and this led
Wait,
to two people
so
being
just
killed.
answer
Yeah,
so
and
direct question. Do you think sanctuary policy that prohibits local law enforcement from working with these federal agents, do you think that's helping or hurting the situation?
I honestly don't know. I think honestly, if you presented it in the way you did, which is, hey, if cops were preventing people from getting close to ICE, like, yeah, in the same way I said, if everyone stayed home because the Democratic politicians say, just don't go out and protest, you won't get hurt. Yeah, sure, but I don't think this is the reason why all
No,
this
well,
violence is happening. I think
hold
the
on,
violence is
hold
happening because
on.
ICE is bloodthirsty and poorly trained.
No, no,
Well,
hold on.
let's talk about it
No,
just for
no,
a
no.
minute, just so we can kind of
Quick, I gotta
uh,
follow up on that,
yeah,
man.
I,
Come
I
on.
understand. I'm going to give you the mic next, but I just want to kind of make sure to kind of pin in this discussion. And what we're talking about now, as I understand it, is who is responsible ultimately, like as a first cause type of deal, for the violence we're seeing in the streets, both in the Renee Good shooting, in the Alex Pretti shooting, and in the other incidents that we've seen on camera. I want to stay within the bounds of this for a moment, if we can. And I'm passing the mic back to you, Mr.
Okay.
Ryan. So go
So I
ahead,
mean, okay, I'll try to make this as like streamlined as possible then.
please.
Um, can we all agree that there would be a much lower risk of violent interactions if instead of detaining and arresting illegal immigrants on the street, they were instead being transferred from Minnesota jails directly into ICE custody in with full supervision? That process is less prone
Yes,
to
if
violent
Trump's
interactions.
administration was more competent and acted the way that other administrations have
yeah.
with ICE, I believe that there would be less violence. But it's clear that they
Okay.
want sort of this stuff happening. So,
And are you familiar with the Secure Communities program? Does that ring a bell for you?
nope.
Okay. The Secure Communities program is the program that allowed exactly what I just described to happen during the Obama administration.
Okay.
And it was Obama term 1. And that's how he got most of his non-border numbers up. It was cooperation from prisons and jails with ICE. Do
Okay.
you know how that program was terminated?
I told you I never heard of it, so obviously not.
Okay, I'll fill you in. It was the Sanctuary City team.
Okay.
The Sanctuary City movement killed the cooperation program, just like they've passed laws in many jurisdictions that kill cooperation with ICE. I'm not. I'm trying to give them their flowers in Minnesota because if it's true that they're actually cooperating now, that's a wonderful, wonderful change of pace. But if you're asking what is the ultimate cause, Wick, of the fact that there's these violent interactions, it's the termination of the cooperation programs.
Oh, Ryan,
That's
this
the
is
ultimate
insane to
cause.
me because don't get me wrong. I understand the logic between, hey, if you don't cooperate and do the things that the way the Obama administration had done, obviously they're going to have to use different methods. But to imply that this is justification for why this is happening and not the president who ran on a platform of mass deportations and meeting quotas and deporting more than 30% of, or sorry, only less than 30% of these people being violent criminals, so specifically having to go into non-violent places like schools and streets and all this other stuff is insane. This is clearly not the reason for the
Well,
majority of the unrest, for the majority of the non orthodox methods that ICE is using. This is it's like such a
boy,
stupid standard.
boy, you've kind of given up the ghost with that response. If you wanted to focus on violent criminals for deportations, the
Yeah.
easiest way to do it would be to deport people who have been detained for violent
Yeah.
crimes. So
Which is not what Trump is doing either in sanctuary cities where he
because
can't or
sanctuary
anywhere
cities
else.
don't cooperate,
Yes,
they
but this
Oh,
is
he
not
is.
where
terminate
this
Whoa,
is
whoa,
not the
whoa.
majority of America,
in
Ryan. This is
non-sanctuary.
not the platform that he's running on. He's running on mass deportations and quotas. So what
Yes.
the fuck are you
And
talking
but the
about?
question is, how do you effectuate mass deportations? And
You have to
I'm not.
go into places
It's
that
not.
aren't like
No,
people who
you
are
don't.
detained.
You don't. You can focus on the
Yeah.
dangerous criminals first if the
You
locals
could
will
if that was what
let
they
you.
wanted, but they want to
If
get
the
rid of
locals
every
will
illegal
let
immigrant,
you,
Ryan.
soy. You just said earlier it would be better to do it from the prisons, right?
Yes, and they don't want to
Okay,
do
that's
this
where the violent
regardless of the
criminals are.
So
sanctuary city
just
policy.
to interrupt here, is like the Minnesota is claiming, and whether like there's a discrepancy here. DHS is claiming Minnesota is not cooperating in this manner. Minnesota claims it is. Minnesota, the police departments are claiming that when the ICE uh, issues a writ of detainer or detainment, I'm not sure the legal term, where they come
Yeah.
to a prison and pick someone up. ICE DHS is saying they're not helping us with that. However, the Minnesota state is saying Yes, we are.
They're both
And
right.
there is a
Ryan, can I ask
discrepancy.
No,
I need to ask Ryan a question because I
both.
think I understand your train of thought.
Can
But
I answer this question?
go ahead.
They're both right. Tom Homan addressed this earlier today. The Minnesota jails, like people who have been convicted and they're in jail for a sentence, have been cooperating. Prisons. Locals where you get arrested and you're detained have not been. So they were both right. Like Minnesota was cooperating in part and not in other parts, which was because Minnesota is more of a patchwork compared to a place like Portland that has like centralized laws that prevent cooperation. So it's a little bit more complicated in Minnesota than most other jurisdictions. Sorry, you were saying something.
Go ahead. Well, that's fine. My question is your implication that Trump was running on this policy of, well, we just want to get rid of all the violent criminals, but because of the getting rid of this policy from the sanctuary cities, therefore we can't, so we have to do what we're doing, and this is the reason we're seeing all this unrest?
Well, hold up real quick. Let me answer that first, and Ryan, if you can add on if you want. Both of these cases, Pretti and Good, my understanding.
Please, can we go back to this later? This is like completely.
No.
Can you answer that? I want to hear an answer to that question. It's a good question.
No. This is exactly my point because Soypol, you keep trying to make the discussion about the broad immigration enforcement generally, and this idea of like going
I do
around.
want you guys to answer that question after you go, though.
I'm trying to answer the question. I promise you guys will be satisfied. Well, maybe you might not like the answer, but you keep trying to make the discussion about broad going around into the Home Depot parking lot and just rounding up Hispanic people.
Mhm.
My understanding, and we can talk about that as a separate issue. My understanding from both the Pretti shooting and the Good shooting, both of those were ICE's attempts to effectuate specific warrants on people with criminal charges, and they were being impeded from doing that by these protesters. So your point about the broader enforcement policy is not really relevant.
It's completely relevant because you're implying that because you're implying the obstruction by either of these people was specifically for the criminal record people. Like, oh, there's a specific murderer immigrant being deported. I'm going to go out and not. These people are going against ICE. Like that's the whole point. It's about the broader ICE actions. Not
so you can see that
they're not defending a specific guy.
Warrant.
No, but they're not doing it because they know who they're going after. They just see that ICE is overall unjustified, or they think that they are unjustified, and so they're going in and protesting all of it. It's not like they're, hey, guys, all right, let's meet up in our little basement room. They're about to deport this pedophile. We're going to go stop them because we love pedophiles, which is like what half the fucking ICE agents are saying. It's, hey, let's go protest ICE because we think ICE sucks. So it doesn't matter the specific deportation that was happening during this incident.
But this is why the lack of cooperation is so central, because in a world where you have, and this is why, by the way, I thought that maybe the tone of this conversation would change based on the Tom Homan press conference, because he struck such a different tone today, and it was really interesting what he had to say. So please, I hope everyone watches it. But his point, which I think is a really good one, is that if you have cooperation, you can send one agent or two agents to pick up a detainee from a jail or a prison, and then start deportation proceedings.
Okay, yeah, but Ryan, how is this in line with the fact that? Well, no, but this is irrelevant because more than 70% of the people that they're deporting don't have criminal records. I already asked the question.
Then you can ask the question. So on the flip side, if you're doing it in the street, then you need more agents. But then this draws protests and this draws disruption. So now you need more agents to stop the disruption, and now you have the Border Patrol there as well. And now suddenly you have 15 agents for one arrest, and it starts looking worse and worse optically, which makes the tensions get even higher. And one of the things that he said is that now, if this deal with Minnesota for increased cooperation is legit, and I hope to God it is, because it would be a great thing if it was.
Tier 10
then
fucking
they're going
victim
to have
blaming right
less
now.
street
We can't help it.
operations with less agents, which will decrease tensions. So that I think that this is well in line with, to answer your question, what the Trump administration wants to do. They would love to be more efficient rather than less efficient.
Do you think? Okay, look. To be clear, my question was, your implication was that Trump wants to get rid of just the violent criminals for the most part, and therefore he. Oh, so you okay? So to be clear, you are acknowledging that Trump ran on mass deportations.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
If you acknowledge this, would it follow then, if there are a majority of illegal immigrants who have no criminal record, who cooperating with law enforcement would have nothing to do with whether or not all these people are on the street, a vast majority, that absolutely nothing about these sanctuary cities can be put as even close to the majority of the blame as to why there's unrest, right?
No.
Why?
That doesn't follow.
How if it's more than 70% of the people that you need to deport have no criminal record, so working with jails and doing this quietly off the street has absolutely nothing to do with the majority of these deportations, how does this follow?
I don't know that this. I don't know if the 70% number is right, but even if it
okay, well, it is.
I've got it. Well, I've got that stat real quick. You're talking about 70% don't have criminal convictions.
Yes.
What's happening in states that are cooperating is when people are arrested. In my county, there was a DWI. He crashed and killed 2 college kids, and I'll leave it at that. An ICE detainer was put on him, and he gets picked up by ICE and he gets shipped out. So yes, maybe 70% don't have convictions, but that's because
so you're speculating that more than a vast majority of these people should be in jail but aren't.
No. This is where you're getting slippery. It doesn't have to be a majority. The thing is, if you want to get deportation numbers up and you want to focus on people who are either convicted or have been detained for a certain type of crime, which is I think what most people think is a good idea.
Yeah, but that's not what they're running on, Ryan. That's the whole point.
Cooperation is the easiest way to do that.
Why are you making it seem like Trump just wants to get rid of violent criminals, Ryan? This isn't the case.
Yeah.
No. I'm not even saying that. All you have to grant me for me to be obviously right is that Trump isn't a mustache twirling villain. If you just
but I don't grant you that because I do think he's fucking evil.
No, he's a villain. He's very obviously a villain.
Finish up, Ryan, quickly, concisely. Then I want to give it to Sid. Go ahead.
If you just think he's self-interested, if you just think he's selfish, and it's just like, hey, I promise deportations. What's the most efficient way to get my deportation numbers up? Cooperation. It's better for him, even if it doesn't get every number he promised. It gets his numbers.
Yes, I agree. If Trump just did this the same way as the Obama and Biden administrations, he would have better numbers, and it actually would not be so vastly unpopular. But he ran on mass deportations, and he has quotas, which is why it's not fucking working.
He has not been permitted to, and who stopped him from doing it?
Your implication is that the sanctuary. I'm answering it right now. Your implication is that sanctuary cities are the reason Trump is having to do it this way, which is so clearly not true.
It is exactly why he's doing it this way.
So if that's the case, then why, before these sanctuary cities did what you did, and Obama was allowed to act without their impediment, as you say, why is it that we didn't see anything close to this, but still got the same numbers? Because Obama wasn't running on mass deportations. He was just saying, hey, let's get rid of violent criminals, which is a completely universally liked thing for most people, right?
Local jurisdictions were cooperating. That's why. You didn't have to raid. Like, I agree with you that Obama was limiting himself for the most part to criminals or people convicted of or accused of crimes, and he didn't have to raid because the local jurisdictions turned them over to ICE.
Right. So if Trump wanted to just get rid of violent criminals, why wouldn't he just say, hey, we just want to get rid of violent criminals and we want to work and get rid of sanctuary cities? Why would he run on mass deportations?
Because most sanctuary cities have passed laws that say they're not allowed to do even that.
Right. So you would think that the primary platform of his campaign would be, hey, I like the Obama numbers. I think this was good, and we want to go back to that. And this one thing is the only thing that's stopping me. So let's do that, and not let's deport every fucking Mexican in here who didn't come in legally, right?
Yeah. So
I'll let you go back for that.
I'll grant you that he has a
different goal. Let me just.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me just say something. I mean, obviously Trump is a mustache twirling villain. He's a black mark of American history. But Soypol is right. He ran on a campaign of mass deportations now, and then he lied about how many illegal immigrants were in America, and then said the majority of them were violent criminals or out of mental asylums or whatever. So by definition, you can't square that circle. He's obviously going to deport people that didn't necessarily have to be deported. You can't really. How do you do the math on that?
I do want to let you respond, and I'm going to give you the mic, but I'm going to add a question in there, right? Because the Haman thing I think is worth talking about, right? And I promise I'll give you guys the mic. And it is a question to you and to Gen Z, right? When Haman says he does want to start cooperating, a deal has been reached, and he's going to start toning it down, why do we believe him when DHS has continuously, throughout this whole process, lied? So you mentioned in the Pretti shooting that they were going after someone who had a criminal record. It turns out they lied about that. That's not true.
Okay.
So why would we believe them now? I guess is the question.
I mean, I think a few points. Just to go back to the thing we were talking about, the sanctuary policies that killed the cooperation were not passed in response to Trump or his rhetoric. They were largely passed prior to Trump assuming power. A lot of this was Obama era second term.
Sanctuary cities started in 1980, Ryan.
Yes, I understand. I'm talking about the the sanctuary
That's
city
great.
focused response to the Secure Communities program,
Gotcha.
which Obama was using in his first term and had to stop using because of pressure to terminate the program in various jurisdictions. But the answer to your question, Wick, is the easiest answer of all. It's in everybody's best interest. Like like if the cooperation literally is the everybody wins button. Like when you're cooperating, you get
That's not what I ask. Why you believe that?
I
you don't
I
because you don't. That's what I'm saying. When there's something, when a proposal is made that is in everybody's interest, you don't have to rely on the credibility of the speaker in terms of like what's going to happen
But
next.
Wait, but
let me.
Ryan,
You
why
can
do
just
you
say
believe
wait,
that's all
it's
they
good
want?
for them to do it.
yeah, Ryan, wait, I have a question for you. At the minute the body was cold, Kristi Noem went on and said that he was a domestic terrorist. Stephen Miller said that he was a would-be assassin. Kash Patel went and lied about something else. They lied every second after the murder happened. What reason do we have to believe anything that they have to say right now? Do you acknowledge that at least at
Well,
the
I mean,
start what they were saying were totally fictitious?
none of those
No.
people
I
were
just
Tom.
want an answer.
None of those people were Tom Homan, and also
Okay.
totally,
I'm sorry.
Okay,
Who's the head of DHS?
yeah. Wait, can you
to-
answer the question?
Is
totally.
it is Kristi
What
Noem
you
the head of
guys are
DHS?
what you
No.
guys
Can you answer
are
that question?
ignoring is
Okay. No. Okay. Yeah.
so
Fine. Okay.
I'm
Cool.
just gonna keep
Just to
going
be
because
clear, the reason Ryan's not going to answer it is because it's
Did Kristi Noem
indefensible and
lie?
so
no,
Did
obviously a
Kristi
lie.
Noem lie?
Yeah.
Okay. Let
Okay, Ryan.
Ryan go. Let Ryan go, please.
I don't
Wait,
know.
Ryan. Wait. Just before this,
The
this
answer is
can I just
that
say?
when you make a deal with somebody that you don't trust, which does happen in politics, it does happen in geopolitics, what you're looking for is not necessarily that you're suddenly going to trust them. What you're looking for is a situation where it's in everybody's best interest to go along with the deal. That way you don't have to rely on your personal feelings
I
about the
understand
person.
game theory,
Well,
Ryan.
No,
Do you think?
I want to give it to Sid. I want to give it to Sid. I want to give it to Sid. Sid,
No,
take it away.
so Ryan, the minute he died, Kristi Noem went on television and said that this individual is going to commit an act of domestic terrorism. This is a fact. Do you acknowledge that she was lying in her capacity as the head of the DHS?
I don't know. Can you pull up the quote? I'm unfamiliar with it, but go ahead. Maybe.
I
Maybe
read you that quote. That's that quote
Well,
verbatim.
wait,
Yeah.
and while you're
You
pulling
can
it up,
paraphrase the
Ryan,
quote.
yes, I
If you wanna
understand
read it,
game
go
theory,
ahead.
and theoretically, you could make a deal with someone you don't necessarily trust because in the short term, this will still be beneficial to you. But if the deal is, hey, we're just going to go after violent criminals by going through this, cooperation through sanctuary
That's not the
cities.
deal.
Well, let's say it was, okay? Like the point is, like
Well,
this seems.
but that would be a
So-
deal that you would need trust for. So it matters.
Well, what's the trust that isn't needed here then?
The trust is that they've said in Minnesota said we're going to increase cooperation, and the Trump administration has said in response to that we will decrease the number of people doing raids on the streets. Now you don't need trust for that because if it turns out they're not cooperating, then the raids go back to normal. And if it turns out that the raids don't go back down, you could stop cooperating. You don't need a lot of trust for that deal. Whereas in your deal,
Well, so you need some trust, right? Because Trump is promising something and you have to assume that he's going to do it. And if he doesn't, then you don't give it to him. But if you already know he's going to lie, which is what he's doing, and he's run on a campaign of doing more than this, which is mass deportations, why would we believe him in the first place and just go ahead and skip that second step and never work with him, right?
You're asking an incredibly silly question because they don't have to decide this ex ante. They can agree to a framework that's good for everybody, and then they can do it for a week and see how it goes. And if it turns out that Trump is lying,
Right.
they can say,
but
you
we
know
already
what,
know
you
he's
lied.
lying because he's been
We're
lying
backing up.
about it
No,
for
you
months,
don't.
right?
Okay,
You
Soy Pill,
don't
please,
know
please,
that.
guys, both of you.
Don't know
Okay,
that.
I
It's
brought
just
up
a thing you say.
Okay.
I brought up the quote from DHS, Homeland Security, and what they said at the day of the shooting, of the Alex Pretti shooting, and I'm going to read it to you, and then I just want to know if you consider this an honest and accurate representation of what happened. So at 9:05 a.m. Central Time, as DHS law enforcement officers were conducting a targeted operation in Minneapolis against an illegal alien wanted for violent assault, an individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun, seen here. The officers attempted to disarm the subject, but the armed suspect violently resisted. More details on the armed struggle are forthcoming. Fearing for his life and the lives and safety of fellow officers, an agent fired defensive shots. Medics on scene immediately delivered medical aid to the subject, but was pronounced dead at the scene. The suspect also had 2 magazines and no ID. This looks like a situation where an individual wanted to do maximum damage and massacre law enforcement. About 200 rioters arrived at the scene and began to obstruct and assault law enforcement on the scene. Crowd control measures were deployed for the safety of the public and law enforcement. The situation is evolving and more information is forthcoming. And they gave a little picture. Do we consider that an honest assessment
Wick,
of what
wait,
happened?
hold on, Wick. This is not the lie. The lie is them saying
No, these are.
No,
Hold on. They are lies, but-
there's one statement in there that's probably wrong. Like
Yeah.
the he was intending to massacre line is
That
like,
one's bad. Yeah.
almost certainly wrong. It got a little bit more plausible with the video released recently, but I don't think they had reason to believe that at that time. The rest of it, I think, is factually accurate.
I agree.
It might be like you prefer it to be written a different way. But
What do you think? What do you think is implied when you say an individual approached the border officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun? What is the implication?
I mean, wait, hold on. It's literally true.
I didn't say it wasn't literally true. I said, what's the
Okay.
implication?
I'll go with what you're trying to get at, Soypo. Yeah, the implication they're trying to draw is that he approached with the gun drawn and was like threatening
Or
to shoot.
brandished
I
or
agree.
something like that? Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. That's the implication. Ryan is also true that factually speaking, that was reported correctly, but it was slimy in the way that was. But the rest of that, aside from that one paragraph about intending to massacre law enforcement, yeah, I think that's a
Yeah,
pretty
if you ignore
accurate
the most
factual-
egregious worst part of it, maybe we
Yeah,
could start
so-
trusting them a little more. I agree, but you can't because it's what they did, right?
But here's the thing. I'm more willing to call it out. Well, maybe not call it, but more willing to say, I think Noam and Bavino especially was kind of way out there, and that's why he essentially got fired or demoted. And Holman was brought in as a stabilizing force. I think the issue Ryan is identifying, and I'm agreeing with, is you guys are saying there's just zero trust, there's zero capacity for trust because of some of the statements that Noam and Bavino were making, which I'll agree with you were too much, they were too far. But by bringing in a new neutralizing force, essentially treated like a basketball team, a new coach is brought in, or
Do
a
you
new
think Tom
CEO is
Homan
brought in.
is somehow like the moderate here?
Well,
Yeah.
you said you didn't. You said you
Yes.
didn't listen to a statement earlier, but yeah,
No, I don't
I-
believe Tom Homan right now is signaling a retread of like previous policies from Trump had been because this looks so fucking bad and they're so
Well,
obviously
to be
lying
clear-
that they can't
Hello?
double down on it. That's
Oh.
what's happening. Tom Homan is not a moderate on immigration.
the guy who
Wait,
won an
but-
award from Obama on immigration.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
you can
he
bring
was-
that
he
up
was
as if
Obama-
somehow his policies haven't changed in 10 years. Like
I
that's
don't-
such a fucking
but
stupid
it's hard.
point.
Soypo, I don't know how you're
No,
saying
no,
this.
no,
because
no.
you haven't seen the statement.
That's actually really funny you said that. He's talked about this publicly. What like in terms of what he thinks has changed, right?
Tom
What-
Homan
what do
is
you
on
think-
board
what-
with
what
mass
do you thi-
deportations,
what
and
do
you're
you think-
implying
what
that he
do
is
you
somehow
think
the
he
moderate on
said
immigration here.
changed?
I'm
Sorry,
back,
what do
I'm
you-
back,
what do
I'm back,
you
we're
think
back.
He said changed.
What does Tom
I
Homan
agree
has said
something
changed?
What do you think it is?
Wait, has Tom Homan said it's changed now that he's in the Trump
Since the
admin?
Obama administration. What do you
Hold
think?
on, wait. We're getting sidetracked.
No,
You're
I'd love
Okay,
to.
yeah,
No, I actually don't know.
It's
Tell me,
like-
Ryan. What does Tom Homan say has changed? Now
that
it's
we had
necessary?
massive uncontrolled border.
Oh, so he
crossings
justifies
during the
supporting
Biden
mass
administration.
deportations. Got it.
And
Okay, cool.
one of the interesting facts he pointed out today
Mhm.
is that there's apparently 2 million or so people who had the opportunity, if they were willing to give their name and their documentation and be registered within our systems, to be part of the system, and they chose not to get
Okay,
any of
to be
those
clear, Ryan, what you're doing now is justifying the admins. Well, yeah, because you're rambling about something irrelevant. No, Ryan, you're justifying Tom Homan's decisions that has nothing to do with it.
You can tell me why it's irrelevant, but if you're just
It's not irrelevant to say
Hold
Tom
on,
Homan justified it. It's
I just got
irrelevant
back.
to say that.
I just got back. Okay, we had a little snafu. We're back up though. Okay, so I'm not sure where.
Yeah,
but,
can we try to have like taking turn sticks or something if we're going to moderate?
Yes, but we're
Yes,
gonna have to have conciseness too. So I might have to limit your speaking
Sure,
time,
that's
so we
fine.
don't have 10 minutes. and then
Brevity
he
is the
gets
soul
30
of wit,
seconds.
Ryan.
Sure.
Let me just start with this to maybe do a reset. So Christy Noem on the day of the shooting
You're not gonna let me
said
finish
that
what I
Alex
was in the middle
Pretti,
of making?
just real quick, Christy Noem on the day of the shooting said that Alex Pretti was brandishing a gun. Was that an honest statement?
Wick, do you want
No.
to debate too?
No, I'm just asking you, like, just if you know if that's
It only seems like a debate because
that's
you're
honest.
defending obvious lies. That's why
But
it seems
no,
like a
no,
debate.
No,
It's
We're shifting the
I'm-
goalpost.
I would-
We're not doing it. Soypo, you're shifting the goalpost because the whole discussion that you brought up with Noam and Bavino is that they're dishonest, that they're making dishonest statements. Wick, you just brought it up as well. But now we bring up someone who, unless you have evidence that Tom Homan has been dishonest in his past or present,
He's
now
part of-
you're just
he
saying
is
your issue with
part
Homan
of
is that you
an
don't like his
administration.
policy.
Wasn't he like accepting bags like $50,000? Wasn't there some big scandal about that?
I forgot.
I remember reading about it. Like,
yeah, I forgot.
You're
I
gonna
forgot
tell
about
me
that
this guy's an
corruption
honest
scandal.
like what the fuck? Yeah,
I
this
guess,
guy's
yeah.
okay. Yeah. So I'm sorry. This is like the modicum of honesty you're supposed to accept from the administration.
No,
A guy that was out there like trying to accept bags of like $50,000. Come on, give me a fucking break.
So what's your prescription? That nobody is trustworthy, therefore no.
No,
deal
nobody
could
in the
ever
Trump
be reached.
administration is trustworthy.
There-
So
Hold on,
why
let
should we
Ryan finish. We
cooperate?
gotta let Ryan finish on
Yeah,
this one. Go ahead, Ryan.
Therefore, what? Let's just like fight the resistance forever. What's the prescription you're offering? I understand you don't trust these people. There are serious trust issues. I think that's fair to say. So, given that's the case, what could people do to make this situation better that is not complete capitulation by one side, which we know isn't going to happen? And it seems like, to me, it's what Tom Homan is suggesting.
What we can do is we can keep protesting and we can shut down the government and demand that ICE actually take some accountability. And I think that's going to happen. Thank God.
I think my prescription and soy pills are pretty similar, which is that I should just get the fuck out of Minnesota. There's 3,000 ICE agents in a fucking city with 600 cops. Give me a fucking break. This is disgusting.
Do you guys?
Go ahead, Jinsey.
Yeah, I just want to ask this as a broad point, because I said this in my opening. We haven't got to it yet. But do you guys think 8 U.S. Code 1325 that makes it illegal to enter the country illegally, do you think that is a valid law on the books, or is that just unconstitutional, should not be the law on the books? What's your position?
Are you saying like, are we open?
I don't know anything about the law, so
I'm saying, do you agree? I know you're Canadian, but is it a crime, or is it at least against the law? I know some people say, oh, it's civil or criminal. It's actually criminal if you look at the statute. But that point aside, is it a crime? Is it against the law to enter the country without authorization? Yes or no?
I mean, it seems to be the case. Yeah, I'm just going to take your word for it that it's criminal, not civil. But I've heard otherwise.
Well, you can get in prison for it if you up to 6 months for the first time, 2 years for the second time. So the prescription you just offered was ISIS needs to get out. What you're saying is the federal law just needs to not be enforced, because there are people who are here that are broken.
We're saying it needs to be reformed. When I say abolish ICE, I think it needs to be replaced with something that is not rotten to the core with horrible people with bad agendas and poor training. But I do think we need to enforce immigration.
Yeah. So I guess what's funny about this is, we can talk till we're blue in the face about many statements, and I think a lot of them all agree were either imprecise or in some of them dishonest, and we can talk about them.
But say lie.
But ultimately, ultimately, what's hilarious about this is that the position you guys are taking is extreme. And the position that the Trump administration is taking through Tom Homan, and apparently that Minnesota is taking, is actually moderate and reasonable.
Mass deportations is moderate?
Hold on.
And yet you are positioning yourself as if you're the heroes in this story, when the actual people who are trying to make this shit better are the ones who are taking a little step back and saying, what can we do, rather than like grandiose, impossible statements that are just going to make things worse.
Just real quick, what is
it's an odd high horse.
What's my extreme position?
Real quick, hold on, because I don't know and I want to know, and like, what is the extreme position that Soy Pill and Sid is taking?
Yeah,
abolish and reform ICE would be a pretty extreme position.
That's actually a majority.
How do you abolish and reform something at the same time?
If I heard Sid's position correctly, it was that like Trump should just give up and get out of Minnesota. I think those are pretty extreme positions.
Well, polling would show that it's like 80-20, 70-30
yeah.
right now. So it's not actually that extreme.
What is the favorability?
The only that matters is the general election. There was an election about whose immigration policy is going
okay, here we go.
Okay, sorry, yeah. So we elected Trump, and now we're just no one's allowed to change their mind, even though they see people getting shot in the face. Sorry, you're right.
Okay, Ryan. If
hold up, wait.
If that was
he said. So I'm sorry, Soy Pill. You said it's 80-20 of people supporting abolishing ICE.
I didn't say abolishing ICE. I'd said reforming ICE, or ICE has gone too far, or any of the above that's saying that what ICE is doing is wrong right now. Yeah.
Those are completely different questions.
Well, if you think abolish ICE means don't enforce the immigration, it's a different question. But if you think ICE is doing bad and we need to do something about it, which is what the reform is, then no, it's not a different question.
You've cited a few statistics that seem a little misleading, Soy. That's weird. It kind of
what do you think the 70-30 is? Do you think the position is ICE has gone too far, therefore we should what?
I mean, you could do a lot of stuff if you think ICE has gone too far.
All right, what do you think? What do you think that the prescription is from the people who think ICE is doing too far?
Cams. You know what I mean?
Have body cams.
We should get more body cams.
Oh, okay. If you just get 360-degree angles, the polling will change.
Necessarily the end of that sentence, Soy.
Oh my God.
Can
The position is that ICE
I
needs
say
to
something
change.
really
Hold on,
quickly?
Let Sid go for a second. Sid, go ahead.
Yeah, I hate that me and Soypil are being painted as having some extremist position when the unfavorability ratings for ICE and Trump's position on immigration have been at the lowest since he's been elected. I'm pretty sure it's a negative 27% favorability rating of ICE right now. So it seems like pretty much not most, but a majority of Americans are fed up with the way that they're acting. And this poll was from a week ago, so it doesn't even factor in what happened with Alex Pretti. You guys are taking an extremely extremist and dangerous position and painting us like we're some sort of kind of demagogues and on the fringes of what we're saying, when what we're saying is pretty much in line with what everyday Americans think.
If there was a poll that said murder was the murder law was bad, we don't like that there's laws against murder, are we now all of a sudden saying that it's bad to enforce laws against murder?
No, but it would be an extreme position.
Yeah. So,
you're relying everything on a poll.
Let me try to get this
straight.
No,
that's what extreme means. If extreme position means that you're on the fringes of what you believe. If the fringes, it was an extreme position to think women should vote in the 1700s. That doesn't mean it was wrong to think this. But just to be clear, you're the extreme, not me.
So yeah, the way that you're
do you
hold on, let Ryan go. Ryan, please.
Sorry, Ryan.
The people in the Trump administration and the people in Minnesota who are working out a deal to make things better, that's a crazy extreme position.
No,
but we
I'm not saying that.
Abolish or completely reform ICE. That's not the extreme position. That's the middle of the road.
The reform position is the moderate position right now, and what they're doing in the short term of working together is in context of them arguing for mass deportations. Which, by the way, mass deportations now is not nearly so extreme now that it has much more broader support from the Republican Party. I will grant you that in terms of like talking about the mandate of the election, but it's still fucking insane. Just like it would be insane to get rid of murder laws.
I've always held this point. I just want to say, everybody thinks that they always project something on this election, like if it was a referendum on becoming America first, if there's a referendum on immigration, when it was merely a question of affordability, and that's something that Trump is losing bigly on. That's why you see him losing all over the place when you have statewide races in the U.S. So I always, it may be a trivial point, but I hate seeing people paint on their pet position on it.
Was the election a referendum on who gets to decide immigration policy?
Sure.
Yes.
So it was majority.
Yes.
No, the majority of it was a referendum to think that the things were too expensive.
I'm Canadian, so I don't want to project too much political knowledge on you. But in this country, when you win the election, you can get to dictate immigration policy for 4 years. That's
what does that to do with whether or not the majority of the people support it?
That's what elections are for.
That's not what majority people support means.
I'm sorry. I won't
in the election.
Can I just say something? I won't have fucking Americans telling me about free and fair elections when your current president tried to overthrow a free and fair elections. Like, what the fuck are you talking about elections about me for? We know how to run elections better than you, so don't fucking condescend me.
You left your goalposts over here, but if you need them back, I can get them for you.
So wait, would you say that favorability for the president doesn't matter because he won?
In terms of who gets to wield federal authority? No.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying in terms of...
That is what I was saying.
Okay, well, fine. So if the argument is the tautological, hey, Trump gets to do this because he won. Okay, yeah, no shit. Like, what a pointless statement.
We're looping, we're circling the drain on this, and I want to get to the Pretti shooting specifically. Okay? I'm just really curious. I think I heard Gen Z's position, but I haven't actually heard your position on this, Ryan. Was the Pretti shooting justified? In your opinion?
Legally or morally? They're different questions.
Either one. Go up for it.
Legally, probably yes, but it ultimately turns on a few facts that I, looking at the videos, don't think that I know for sure. But if I had to give a probability on it, I would think it's like 75, 80% chance he would beat any charge if he was prosecuted. Morally, I'm less sure because I don't think I understand the situation well enough. Like the thing I don't understand about that situation at all is kind of like how it started and why the officers were engaging with the women at the beginning of the video. So like there's a story there, and I could imagine answers to that question that would change my answer if that makes sense. Like I don't know the answer. And there's stories you could tell that would change how I viewed it. So I'm not sure. I'm not as sure about that one
Wait,
yet.
I want to follow up. What would the woman and Pretti have had to have said or done prior to justify it?
If, for example, they were attempting to block the car from leaving, or if, for example, they were attempting to obstruct the ICE operations, or if, for example, they had, like, as we've seen with Pretti now, like a long history, and one of the officers knew of that, like, he recognized Pretti, who'd be the guy who kicked in the car like a week
Okay,
ago.
so just to be
These are all
clear,
things that would change it.
sure, just to be clear, if you think that one of the officers on the scene knew that Pretti had kicked in a taillight 2 weeks ago, you think that that makes it more justified?
It
Morally,
would, yeah.
Yeah.
morally justified to shoot him.
Okay.
More morally and legally. No, because if you
I didn't say
if
anything
you
about legally.
like if you see a guy, if last week you have a violent interaction with somebody,
Mhm.
like like you get in a fight with them, they try to kick the
He
shit
kicked
out
the
of you.
taillight. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Spat on the car.
you had a violent interaction
He
with
spat
somebody,
on a car. Yeah.
and then the
Spat on the
next,
agent. Yeah.
and
No,
then
no,
the,
he did not. He spat on the car. We have
yeah,
another.
No,
and
no,
then
from the other angle.
Yeah, he
The
spat
the
on
door
the
was
kicked in the
open.
taillight.
Oh, we can
doesn't
bring
matter.
it up. I
Poor
guess.
Okay,
taillight.
and if you have a violent interaction with someone in 1 week, and then the next week that person comes up and puts their hand on you,
Mhm.
you're probably going to have more reason to believe that this might be a violent interaction because you have a history with the person than if you didn't. So yeah, it would matter. It matters legally and morally.
Okay, so it would morally justify shoving the woman who wasn't putting hands on him and then also shooting him in the back.
No, I didn't say that.
What do you mean? That's what
Hold
happened. You said
I said
this would make it morally justified if this had happened.
Right.
I did not say it would make it morally justified.
That's
I said
what.
it is
Well,
a-
okay. Well, that was
I-
my
I said
question.
it is
So
a
please
relevant
clarify.
part of the analysis.
Of course, it's somewhat relevant insofar as
It's
maybe this
it's
changes how he
highly
was thinking in the
relevant.
moment.
It's relevant to the escalation of the pepper spray. With the women, the question, one of the things I said at the beginning, and if you were, so honestly, at this point, I'm just going to be as candid about my opinion as I can.
Mhm.
If you were at all good faith, you would have heard what I said earlier, which is the thing I know the least about is why the officers were interacting and shoving the women, and I don't know why that happened. This has obviously
What would
nothing
justify
to do
it?
with that.
Well, that's why.
but
No, I
that-
believe you that you don't know. That's why I asked. What would justify them acting that way?
If, for
They were told to
example,
get out
if the officer had tried to establish a perimeter
Mhm.
that they were repeatedly crossing and they were blocking the car from leaving,
Mhm.
is one example.
Okay, so wait,
an
you can see
infinite
in the
number of
video that's not
examples.
what's happening. So maybe think of a different scenario
You
where it
cannot see
justifies
in the
this.
video that that's not
Yeah,
happening.
you can. When he shoves her, she's not standing in front of a car and blocking it. So you can go
We
back
can
to
watch
that.
it.
in the
I have
street,
it up.
She's standing
Okay, yeah,
next to
let's watch it. Yeah.
Okay. This
Yep.
is the I think just hold on. This is one you sent me, Mr. Gen Z. So
Yeah,
if we need
this
to
is-
start,
Make sure you don't get to the part where they gun him down in the back, because then I'll get demonetized.
okay.
This is specifically the what I sent was like right when the contact begins.
Do you want prior to that? We can.
Yeah, because if we're
then
if
give
we're
me a
gonna
second.
try, like I agree with Ryan. I don't think we can definitively know right now. All we can do is kind of try to make.
To be clear,
the
I
best
agree with you guys too.
inferences we can.
We don't know. That's why I'm asking what would justify this ICE officer's reaction, and I believe that the hypothetical that Ryan gave just doesn't line up with the video, so that's why I'm asking
If
for
she-
one that makes sense.
The
Blocking
longest the
Yeah,
longest video I've seen in terms of like the most backstory it gave was the one Nate the lawyer played recently, and even that one kind of started with the girls or the women next to the car, and it wasn't sure. It just didn't give me enough information
True,
to know
Grant.
what the interaction had been.
Wait,
Well, let's
because we
start
don't
here.
know, would you support an investigation?
Yeah, and
and
Trump's
so does
called
Holman.
for an investigation. I think
Okay.
I think everyone supports that
Well, why would
Yeah.
they not do that for the Renee Good situation, but for this one?
because the Renee Good one was an obviously good shoot.
Okay, that's what I figured. Let's go.
Okay. I'll stop it before we get to that.
I would bet. I mean, if you wanted, I would.
Oh,
give
if you want to make a bet of whether or not he'll be thrown in jail for it, I would absolutely not take that bet. Of course, he's going to get
okay.
off. Whether or not.
I mean, the Renee Good shoot is like the Renee Good shoot is like when the first time I saw the Kyle Rittenhouse video, and I was like, oh, holy shit! There's no way he's getting convicted. This is an obvious.
As someone who
obviously-
was always on the right side of history with Kyle Rittenhouse, I disagree. I think Kyle Rittenhouse was like the most cut and dry case of self-defense I've ever seen in my life.
Legally, the Renee Good one is not quite as clear, but it's like an iota less clear. Than,
Well, yeah, one is a gun being pointed at him,
Oh.
and one's a car brushing him on the side. To be clear, like
And-
these are not even close.
Well, if you, I'm
Okay.
not trying to be an asshole.
Let's hold on.
let's do the video.
Let's watch.
A car
Let's
is a
watch
deadly
the
weapon
beginning
under the
of
law.
this. Okay. This is the earliest that I can find. Okay.
All right.
And we'll see what they say. Okay. And I'll stop it before we get to the nitty gritty. Okay.
The pew pew part.
To the justified shooting.
Can you pause it right there? I'm sorry. So, Soipo, why are they in the street? Why do you think?
They're protesting, maybe even obstructing ICE or filming them. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe even obstructing then. So you're kind of already coming over to our side for what it sounds like as far
When
as
have I
the
ever
next step.
said
If they're no, so here's the thing. You asked what would justify it. If they're obstructing ICE and they are told to get out of the street and they refuse,
yeah,
you do realize the next step the officers have is to physically
to
move them out of the
physically
street, right?
assault them? Yeah, it's not to,
Physically
ma'am,
move
I'm
them
going
out of the street.
Yeah, so there's like a million ways that you can get someone to move without doing what this guy did. But let's watch.
Well, but
Well, asking nicely hasn't worked.
Can we-
So
Okay.
can we-
Okay. So we've gone from asking nicely to what we're about to see. Just to be clear,
No,
but let's watch.
No. Wait, can we stay for a second? Because this matters. This is why I'm saying there's so much we don't know. For example, like, let's play with a hypothetical. Let's say they had established a perimeter, nobody on the street, and this was like the 5th or 6th time
Yeah.
these women had entered into
Yeah.
the "you're not supposed to be on the street" area. That would change
Sounds
the
like
level
maybe
of
you
that would
could
change the
detain them
response.
like they were planning on doing with Renee Good. It sounds like maybe you could put up some sort of barrier. If they don't have access to that, you could place agents there and say, don't cross this line. But we'll see what he does. Let's watch.
Them, then you can use force, and maybe, like, so that this is.
Well,
this
let's
is what I
watch
mean.
and see if they were
Let's-
trying to
Why don't we
detain. How's
watch
that?
what he does to
Let's
her,
watch
and you tell
see if
me
they were
that this
trying to
is
detain. I'm
exactly
going to go
what should
back
have
a little
happened.
bit so we have some context,
Right.
and we can watch, and the audience can see, is this an attempt to detain? The woman specifically.
Just to be clear, Wick, I am anti-woman. Like, I don't want to confuse anyone.
Fair. Wise.
Based.
Can you pause, Vic?
Yeah.
Does anybody know why Pretti is waving traffic through? Have we learned why he was doing that?
He probably, just like Renee Good did, he wanted to get shot because he knew that if you wave traffic through, you get shot, and he wanted to martyr himself.
Well,
No, I don't think we know.
Okay.
Well, I think the only real explanation is that trying to wave through non-ICE vehicles so that they don't get involved in their obstruction.
How would he know if that's an ICE vehicle?
Well, that's the thing. We don't know the buildup. We don't know the last minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. So we don't know what vehicles they know are ICE. We do know that they are tracking ICE vehicles, though. Just to be clear, though, are we thinking that he would be waving through an ICE vehicle?
Why wouldn't he?
We saw the video from a week ago. We know how he feels about ICE, and now we saw how he acted here. Do we think he's just like, oh yeah, ICE, come on through, yeah, or I'm intentionally not obstructing you?
Like, there's a crazy thing that people
maybe.
do is sometimes when they're in a bad mood, they act differently than they do on other days. And to use a single example, right, that you call a pattern behavior of a guy kicking a taillight out, which is, again, I disavow. It's not good. You shouldn't kick out taillights, right?
Wick.
But to
Oh my
apply
god.
that shows like a pattern of behavior, that's a single incident.
Okay.
I think you're
just to be clear, I don't know what happened here, and I started with that because I really don't. But there are scenarios where, like, inviting a car to drive through a federal operation is a felony. Just to be
Do
clear.
you
Like,
think that this is one of those scenarios?
I don't know. I don't know if that's an ICE car or not an ICE car. I don't know
Say
if they
it's not an
established
ICE car.
perimeter.
So
If
it's not an ICE car.
if
Would him
they est-
waving
if-
through
if
this
they est-
car,
if-
again, just I understand it's not 100%. You can't give me
Wait,
100%.
it doesn't matter, Wick. We're just speculating on. Well, in this very specific scenario,
Yeah,
if
maybe
he
that
did
car
this
had just
in
made
this
a
case
bomb threat,
precedent,
and we don't know.
yeah.
Maybe that car
We
had
don't-
just made a
that- but-
bomb threat, and he was trying to get it out of the area. so it
Maybe
didn't
Alex
blow up.
Pretti
It
in
could
in
be.
Italy actually
Yeah.
waving actually means go away. It means go the other way. So we don't know. Like maybe he has
Well,
that. in
Okay,
his
let's
culture.
watch, let's watch, let's
What
watch.
I'm saying is that these facts matter, and we don't know the answer, which is
Okay.
why the investigation.
Let's just see
Go
what
ahead.
happens to this woman. I want to see.
Go. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, right there. Tell me again
Okay.
what that was.
Yeah.
Yeah, he shoved her.
Uh-huh. That was the only option he had. That was like between he already asked nicely.
The only option is not the legal standard.
I didn't say that it was the legal standard. The impression that you guys were giving was, well, I mean, you're allowed to, forcefully move someone if you have to establish perimeter. And this guy was just doing what was in his, purview. And it's like, no, we're talking about these people escalating, being incompetent, right? This is the whole point.
No, if he was legally justified if he was not legally justified, that would be an assault. If he is legally justified, it's not a criminal event. The odds that he's legally justified appear to be high, but like I said, it turns on stuff I don't know. Okay. The reason it appears police officers are allowed to use force if you are not complying with their directions, and they are allowed
I'm aware.
The difference between I don't know, he could have pushed her more gently. I mean, I don't think that's going to matter much in the analysis. Okay. So yeah,
wait.
Could have pushed her more gently.
Before we continue playing, I have a question. Ryan, when you taste the boot, do you prefer the heel or the toe?
What do you think happens when police arrest you?
What do I think happens? Do they ever use
the ground?
Oh my god!
Why would you push them if they're detaining? If you're being detained, you're pushing them away.
Well, I think hold on. I can answer this.
Why would you do that?
I don't want to waive the appeal to authority, but as a prosecutor for a couple of years, I work closely with law enforcement. I've seen cases exactly like this, and yes, sometimes the solution is I don't want to execute a full arrest because either I don't know if the DA is gonna follow through on it, or in this case, it'd be the AUSA. I don't know if I have enough to actually sustain a full prosecution, or I just don't want to do the dang paperwork. So instead of actually executing the full arrest, I'm going to attempt to just get the situation
to assault them.
Not
if you're not detaining, isn't this assault?
Or for example, we set a perimeter, which was protesters need to be on the sidewalk, not the street. You're on the street again, and I am putting you back in the area where you're allowed to be. That would also be legal.
Oh, and Wick, do you think an officer can never put their
back into that area?
Wait. Can an officer never put their hand? Can an officer never put their hands on somebody unless they are arresting them? Is that your belief?
No. But I think that pushing a woman down on the street without the intent to detain her or without probable cause that she should be detained is excessive force and illegal.
Wick, do you think this obese feral hog could have just walked into her and got her off the street without pushing her?
On the basis of what?
On the basis of there's no reasonable reason to use that level of force on someone. If you're not attempting to detain them, they're not being violent. They haven't put their hands on you. They haven't even approached you. I guess she had a high-capacity assault whistle there that she was using, which I guess is a deadly weapon in some states now. But regardless, yes, I think that there's no reasonable person. Look, let me ask you this. If that guy wasn't a cop and you walked out and you saw a man pushing a woman into the street, right, where there's traffic, and then again pushing her down like that, what would you assume is going on?
Wick, everything that the police do is illegal if they're not cops. That's
everything.
Basically, yeah. If I arrest somebody, that's illegal.
Citizens arrests are not illegal.
Somebody, that's generally
hold on. Citizens
illegal.
arrests are not illegal.
Wick, you are being wildly obtuse on purpose right now. You know exactly the point I'm making.
Police brutality. Wick is saying that if you see police brutality and you saw they weren't a police officer, you might think this might be something not so good.
And Wick, I love you, brother, but you're so deep in your feels on this, you're not even moderating at this point. But that's fine. I think the truth here is, Wick, under the law, it is highly likely that was justified. It's not impossible.
Well, if that's the law, then the law needs to be broken. The law needs to be changed.
Whoa,
that is a horrific
Wick,
law.
You are causing more ICE violence right now.
Actually, yeah.
Ironically, yeah.
The next murder's on you, Wick. It's all your fault.
It. I condemn Wick. I condemn.
I'm just saying that's the law.
I disavow.
The law that the police officers, for no reason, can push you onto the street.
They already warned her a couple times, Wick. There's a reason.
That is a odious law.
Here's the problem.
Wait, Wick. How do you know there's no reason?
How do you know there is?
I don't. That's the thing. I
Okay,
said
why
I
are you
didn't
giving
know.
why did
these
you say it was
people who,
probably
again, as we've demonstrated,
justified?
just real quick, let me get into it,
No,
right?
no, that's
How do we why are we
Soy asked a
giving these
great
people
question.
that
I'd
we
love to
know
answer it.
have
Soy asked a
lied
great question. I'd love
continuously,
to answer it.
whose court cases continue to get thrown out for lying, who have defied the court more times this year than some agencies have done in their entire life? And this is from a federal judge, by the way. It's not just me saying this. Why are you giving them any benefit of the doubt?
Because under the law, they are entitled to be.
That's not what
It's a
benefit of the
beyond a
doubt
reasonable
means.
doubt standard question. Wick, that's what a criminal prosecution is. It's by definition beyond a reasonable doubt.
Okay.
In order to convict them, Wick, you would have to show that there
I'm
would
going
have
with
to be
chat. This guy would let
no
ICE fuck his
reasonable
wife. 5 ICE
explanation
agents
for what
gangbang
they
the shit
did.
out of his
And
wife.
there are
Break into his
many
fucking
potential
house without a
reasonable
warrant and
explanations
just
what they did.
gangbang her.
Soy asked a great question earlier. He said, if I don't know, how can I think that they probably were justified? The answer is because there are so many possible reasons why this would be justified, and at trial you would
But you
have
still
to
haven't
show
given
that
one, to
none
be
of them
clear.
applied. The burden is entirely on the prosecution. So yeah, legally, almost certainly justified.
Okay,
But
morally,
I don't
based
know.
on
There
what
are
you've
things.
seen, what do you
Wait,
think she could have done to justify this?
Hold on, no, we can't move to the moral without you guys acknowledging where we are legally. Because
Yeah,
every time we
legally,
try and drill down on the legal outcome of
legally,
the
we
case,
agree
you just
you're
want to hand
innocent
wave
to
it
proven
away.
guilty. Well, it's not.
Wait,
The whole point is we're talking about
I
what we can
just
see. We're not adjudicating this. We're not a fucking judge and a jury.
Well, if you're asking the legal question, that is the question you would have to answer.
Is that what I asked, or did I say it doesn't look like this was justified?
No, they want
right?
to keep skipping the legal question because they know they know they do
Well,
know
you
that's
know
the
what
thing. They do know the answer. They just don't want to
Sure,
answer it because they
but
know
you're
the
wrong
answer.
legally, and
What
let
do
me tell
we
you
know?
why. Hold on, you're wrong legally, and let me tell you why. Because the standard is reasonable doubt. It's possible that she's a genie, right? A dragon that has come down from the heavens and taken human form. That's possible. I can't prove that's not true. There's no evidence that I can show you or a court that that's not true, right? That's just the case. So when we're saying that, yes, are there reasons possibly that would justify this? Yes, but there are no reasonable reasons that would justify this level of force.
No, if they established a perimeter and these women had violated it like one or more times, and then he was trying to move her back,
Yeah.
then he would win.
No, it
He
would
be
not.
justified.
That would not be a.
This
a
is why
legal
I
way to
asked you,
move her back.
Ryan. Do you think there was a dichotomy between asking nicely and pushing her, as if there weren't 5,000 things you could have done that would have moved her, which wasn't shoving her to the ground like
Yes,
that?
and if we were asking a moral question, that would be relevant. But if we're asking the legal question, it's not.
Okay, so let's do the moral and move on to the legal then. Do you think this was an
Are we-
immoral
are we
use of
con-
force?
Are we conceding?
No,
the
I said
legal?
let's move on to the legal after. But do you
So
think this was an
then-
immoral use of force?
Can we at least concede that you guys have no basis for assuming that this is a convictable assault? You don't know that.
Whoa,
Yes, we do.
convicted.
I mean, look, wait, one sec.
I don't know the precedent.
Can I
of
say
whether or not
something?
it's convictable, but go ahead. Yeah.
All right. I don't know the law, then that's
Look, I mean,
something
what
to
is-
rule that out.
I don't even know, like, maybe Soyplan and Wood can answer better on this. I'm not a jurist, but I don't even know why we're talking about the legal question when the vice president went live this month saying that ICE agents have absolute immunity to do whatever they want. Like, he said that on camera. So where does this legal question factor in? If anything ICE agents do is totally permissible by law because they have absolute immunity or whatever, or at least that's the line that the administration's pushing.
He's not. If he said absolute, I need to see the quote. He said absolute immunity, then he's
I can-
wrong. If what
Yeah.
what would
DM me if you want
typically-
to show me.
What would typically be referred to there is that federal officers executing federal laws have like a kind of immunity to state prosecutions because of the supremacy clause of our Constitution. So there are ways to get around.
Thank you for becoming a basic
it
bean
would be
pushing
very
a high
hard to
button.
prosecute these guys in state court. It would be a federal prosecution, not a state prosecution.
And
While you find the quote, can I ask? I mean, Ryan, you say like,
I've got it
you
here.
don't know the law. Like, do you know like Title I, Section 16.3 of the DOJ like use of force policy?
I'm familiar with that one just because I've looked at it recently, but also that's not the law. That's a policy.
Okay, right. But do you think this has anything to do with the way these people acted and might have something to do with the legal precedent as to whether or not he was justified in doing it?
It can be relevant. Like if you're asking whether or not policy can be relevant in a criminal trial, the answer is yes.
Okay.
It's evidence, but it's not the law. It's evidence.
Sure.
You can use it as evidence.
But you're using this as maybe, some sort of precedent for whether or not they were being reasonable when they failed to de-escalate, right?
No, what I was saying is that
No, no, that's what I'm saying.
in order to convict them, you would have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that they were unreasonable, meaning
Right.
that there could
So
be no
violating their
reasonable explanation.
precedent, as in, for example, if we look at section 16.3 that says such tactics and techniques for de-escalation should be employed if objectively feasible and they would not increase the danger to the officer or others. Do you think this was a violation of that? Do you
Maybe.
think it would be unreasonable to say that, yeah, maybe he could have done something else here that wasn't shoving her to the ground?
Well, it would be. That's what I mean. It's evidence. It's not dispositive. It's
I
But
asked
also
you if
too,
it was
I think
unreasonable.
we're getting
because
lost in the weeds on because all this analysis we've just spent the last 20 minutes on is whether or not this woman
Thanks for
might
going to
have a
bigger
claim
bean,
against the
Sebastian
officer
Roser.
for unreasonable excessive use of force. But the issue we're debating here is not whether that's the case. We're debating whether or not Alex Pretti had the legal duty, the legal right, the legal authority to insert himself physically, which Soypol, you said he didn't do so physically. We've got the video we can show you. Did he have the legal authority to insert himself
I'll
physically?
switch to that. Give me a second.
Yeah, we can look
Yeah,
at that too, but
did
that
he have the
was a while
justification?
ago. But to be clear, we were talking about whether or not these ICE agents acted reasonably here, and this looks pretty fucking unreasonable, but
I
okay.
think mine and Ryan's contention is that, and Ryan, I'll speak for you, and correct me if I'm wrong. We want to see less people dying, and the proximate cause of people dying is acting like idiots and inserting themselves physically and creating situations where an ICE officer can have an objectively reasonable belief of fear for his life or great bodily harm. And you guys have not addressed that point at all in the last hour and a half.
Yes, we have actually, because I said, yeah, we could also say if we want less people to die, we could tell everyone to stay in their house, but I think that it's completely morally justified to go out and
Well,
protest.
see,
And if
you're
ICE
taking the
agents,
goalpost
and if
to
ICE
a
agents, no, this is
ridiculous
not moving the
extreme.
goalpost. No,
That's
what I'm
ridiculous
saying is
extreme.
you're arguing that, oh, it's the fault
Hold
of
up.
the violence that people are out here and putting themselves in dangerous situations. And I'm saying, no,
We're-
it's the ICE agents who are acting with impunity, who have a reasonable standard of a higher duty to de-escalate, which they are not meeting, and they're completely untrained, and they're shooting people. And I don't blame this at all on the protesters, even close.
You're doing the Hassan thing when
Yeah.
people say he's a fake socialist when he says his response is, "Oh, you think socialist is be poor and sell all my stuff." No one is saying that the solution here is people have to stay home
I
and
didn't
never
say
leave
you
out.
said that.
That's what you keep going back to, though.
The
You're
reason
saying
I
the
bring it
only
up is because you're saying, well, the reason for the violence is that these people
I'm
are
talking about.
protesting
Hold on,
and
no, no,
getting
no. Let me
involved,
correct you.
right?
I'm talking about the
Hold on,
proximate cause.
was he incorrect in characterizing your argument? And if he is, can you correct him? So
Yeah,
characterize
that's
his argument. Steelman his argument. Soypil, please.
Your argument is that the reason that the violence is happening is because these people are being encouraged by democratic lawmakers and the rhetoric around how ICE is so evil and awful in the Gestapo that they're putting themselves in situations that are getting them to be hurt when they wouldn't otherwise because they would have complied with the officers, right?
Is that correct?
close. I'm not saying that it's a well, my argument is that it is a proximate cause. This is kind of legal. I don't want to get too much in the weeds, but there's a difference between proximate causation and actual causation. Actual causation is just any given factor that could contribute to an outcome. That's actual causation. The fact that it was sunny outside, it wasn't a blizzard, meant these people were out and they could protest and therefore get shot.
Okay.
That's
Right.
It gets really remote.
And I
My
think
focus is
women in bars are a proximate
me-
cause to
let me
getting
finish.
raped, but I think it's the rapist's fault usually that raped them.
So answer me this then. How come the only how come the violence that we're seeing, there's a study, I got linked it on Twitter, but a study that the 9 most sanctuary city policy areas are the ones that have the overwhelming, like 75% of the violent encounters
Because that's where
with
all of
ICE.
the people are.
Yeah, that's where all the people live. I mean,
But they're all sanctuary
that's how
city
it
policy.
works.
Oh, no. Wait. That is not where all the people are. There
Are you saying sanctuary city policies are causing the murders, or do you think sanctuary city policies correlate with the fact that they're big cities and
point
there's a
being,
bunch of
It's
people,
the
and then
same
there would
reason
be
why Democrat blue cities have the most violent crime. It's because that's where all the fucking people are.
Yeah.
Sanctuary policies correlate with the need for raids to enforce immigration, which correlates with more difficult interactions between the populace and ICE agents, which correlates with violence. So
and
to be
politicians
clear,
that will
I would
apologize
agree
for it.
with you, Ryan, if the case was that this was just about deporting violent criminals, but that's not the case. They want mass deportation, so they necessarily have to raid places that aren't just sanctuary cities, right?
So
I mean-
out of curiosity, I don't know the answer to this question. How many sanctuary cities are there in the U.S.?
I want to say like
That's a great question. I'm not
dozen
at
or
least
so.
one.
It depends.
Well,
It's
Don't play
also
games
very,
again. At least 3.
It's a slightly it's slightly tricky because like sanctuary is like an umbrella term, and each state does it pretty differently. Like what I was saying before, like Minnesota's a weird one because it's very patchwork. In some states, there's like a uniform policy, and in some places it's like a city by city policy. So I really don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah, it's like 13 states, like between 12 and 20 different cities. Like it depends on which policy, and they don't like have like the
Yeah.
we're joining up the sanctuary city group and we all follow the same rules. Like it's very different.
Yeah, it's kind of a decentralized movement, so I don't think it has like a.
Okay. The
I
reason I
don't think it has
ask
like a
is
uniform
because
definition.
I've heard the 9 like figure bandied about as the reason, but like if there's, and again this is just AI Google what it gave me is it says there's over 1,000 jurisdictions, and if you're having trouble in 9 of them, I don't think it's the
But
sanctuary bit.
have we not hold
the
up, have we
issue.
not seen increased ICE operations in Texas, in Louisiana, in Tennessee, in all these states where they're Texas, what state has more illegal immigrants in it than Texas? And why is not a single Texas city or
I
county included in this stat of violent ICE encounters?
I don't know if that's true, but there are raids
I,
going on in like
I
Austin that are facing protests, and just because a violent encounter hasn't happened yet does not mean they're not meeting resistance, and that sanctuary cities are the reason they're happening, right?
Yeah, I mean, so the
and
thing.
to my knowledge, this is Minneapolis is the greatest proportion of like ICE agents to like local PD. It's 3,600. I don't know if the scale of those operations in these red states are as high. So I don't know if they would engender
Oh,
just as much kind of
Also,
not
also, wait, no,
protests.
we can skip past this. I'm literally just gonna link a video in chat of like fucking ICE like in a violent encounter in Texas. Like this is not true.
Well,
Like,
Give it to me in
no,
DM. DM is easier for
but
me.
the
And
claim
okay,
is
I'll just put it in the
the,
group
the
chat.
claim is not that there's no violent encounters.
Well, that kind of is what he said. He says, "Why are there no
because
violent
you-
encounters in this
no,
stat
because
in Texas?" He
what
said
you're
that
doing,
specifically, Ryan.
Okay, let me correct no to far less.
In
Oh,
real life,
fewer,
where
yeah, okay.
I'd like to think we all live, we all know that there's no such thing as one-to-one causation in real life. There's always multiple causes in
Okay,
real life.
wait. Oh, Ryan,
So,
wait. I
like,
can agree with you.
you're
Skip
not
it.
gonna
Wait,
get
let me agree.
100 to
This is
0.
let me be good faith. Look, you're saying that if the Obama era sanctuary city policy with cooperation existed, there would be less violence in the sanctuary cities, right?
Yes.
100%.
I agree. Of course.
Yeah.
My contention
That
is
makes
not
sense.
that this would reduce any sort of conflict. My contention is that this is not the reason for conflict. And this is kind of how it was being painted, that, well, Trump doesn't have a choice because they're not cooperating. It's like, okay, yeah, this would reduce some of the conflict and violence for sure. But the idea that the mass deportation president would have like absolutely no like conflicts and violence and these amounts of protests trying to mass deport all the illegal immigrants is insane.
But here's the problem. You guys, I've heard you
do we
both
want
say
to watch this or not?
It
let
doesn't
me make
matter.
this
The
quick
point was
point.
they've already conceded it. It's fine.
Oh, they already conceded.
Yeah, they just said
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I
But
don't
the
even know
problem
what
I'm
we're
hearing
supposed to-
you guys keep saying, oh gosh, great. I lost my train of thought. That was a great point too. Maybe it'll come back to me. The video got me.
Well, how about we do this? How
Oh,
about
hold on. No, wait. Sorry. I got it.
Oh, you got it. Okay, great.
And I lost it again. I'm sorry. I swear that wasn't a me.
No shot.
This is great TV. I think the point is that there's kind of two narratives that are happening at the same time, and they're basically turning into a propaganda war between the two of them. Because the one is like the Gestapo with the jack boots and they're coming to get you narrative, and the other is the we really don't.
The
want
other
to
is the
enforce
hug
immigration
box.
law at
Don't
all,
show the
but
videos
what
of what's
we're going to
happening.
do is we're gonna find ways to object to everything. So it started off with, oh, we don't like secure communities, and then it's like, oh, well, we actually want to have sanctuary policy, and then it's like, oh, and if you're raiding, we're not okay with that either. So like, there's actually no level of immigration enforcement that would be acceptable.
Why do you say that?
I'm not saying
as
the
if
broader left,
I don't know if
this
that's true.
particular sect within the left.
Okay, well,
So
that's not
I
either of
think
us.
that
So
there's
let's not shadow box here.
that's the fight. That it's a fight for public perception in that sense.
Ryan, I'll extend my olive branch. Yes, I think we should have a border and enforce immigration law. We did it. We came together and agreed that something should happen.
What? I think that's actually probably the best faith moment in any conversation you and I have ever had. So that's awesome.
Yeah, but it's also just like, if you think that
it.
this isn't the vast majority of people on the left, then you're just not understanding what the left is and not listening to Democratic politicians.
I kind of actually I did used to believe that, but it's been tricky. Like Biden had that memo that said if you don't restrict the border, there's going to be chaos, there's going to be backlash. His own people gave him the memo, and he did it anyway.
Okay.
So it does seem like I agree with you that there are some factions who have flagged this as a problem and do want a border. But
is there a single Democrat politician who said there are open borders?
Hold on, wait. Yes,
I'm saying
I
Joe
can answer
Biden
that.
did it despite being advised not to. So he doesn't need to say
Do you
it.
think
I
Joe
can judge
Biden
him
had
by
an
his
open
actions.
border policy?
Wait. Yes,
Yes.
hold on.
Wasn't he
What?
trying to push a border
Wait.
security bill before Trump killed it?
This
So
was one of
Because
the
he
most.
wanted to run on it for the
Wait,
election?
I'm sorry.
Just real quick.
I
I
gotta
want to
answer
let
afterward.
Gen Z go. Gen Z's
Okay.
been trying.
Okay, sorry,
Thank
Jonesy.
you. This was one of the most shocking moments I remember from the whole Biden confirmation process was when he nominated Merrick Garland, who, keep in mind, was supposed to be a Supreme Court justice. He's sitting in the confirmation hearings for Attorney General, and he was asked, "Is it a crime to enter the country illegally? Is it against the law?" And he said, "I don't know. I'll have to get back to you on that." How in the world is the top law enforcement officer in the country, who's supposed to be a Supreme Court justice, punting and saying, "I don't know if it's against the law to enter the country illegally"?
I don't know the whole
How is
context,
that the
but was he
case?
at all commenting on the idea of overstaying an asylum, a legal asylum claim? I don't know. Like, is that what he was
He was
talking
talking about
about?
people crossing the border illegally, and he
And
said, "I don't
and
know."
the contention was whether or not it was civil or criminal, or what was the question?
No, he just said it was asked, "Is it against the law?" So civil or criminal, either one.
And it's not a civil criminal thing. It's a misdemeanor versus felony thing.
Yeah, because it is criminal. But
Okay.
either way.
It is criminal.
Okay.
Also,
Okay,
yeah.
I want to
Oh,
make a
wait.
little money
I want
tonight.
them to answer this. They got to answer this.
I don't
Okay,
know.
Because they said,
Again, that's why I'm
answer it.
asking.
Answer it, and then
They said-
after you answer it, I want to make a little money tonight. So we're gonna read super chats.
okay, yeah,
There was no-
definitely. I don't
No,
wanna get
wait,
into it.
no, you will go
Wait,
broke, and you will like it.
we just heard from both of them. Wait, in what way was Joe Biden an open borders president? How could we say there was open borders policy? And I gave you this example, which I think
Wait,
is
that
a
has nothing to
stark
do with example. That was a quote that I'm asking for context on. That has nothing to do with policy. The policy would be, did we have open borders? And we didn't.
So the person who's tasked with enforcing the border and stopping people from crossing it, aka leaving an open border, said, "I don't know if it's against the law to enter the
Gave,
country
at worst, a
illegally."
very bad response, if I'm to believe you 100%. And then we can look at what actually happened, which was a bunch of people claimed asylum. And I'll agree, they claimed asylum in very nefarious ways, which weren't very legitimate, and we didn't have the courts to process them. But this is open borders?
Well, and the funny thing about
I-
that, I'm glad you brought that up, is that the memo I referenced earlier, one of the topics in the memo that Biden's team gave him was ways to combat people who are abusing the asylum system.
Okay.
And they provided him with a menu of options, which he rejected. So yeah, I think that he
Okay.
and judging by his actions, he does seem pretty open
I want to
borders.
give Seth a
Okay.
chance to answer, and then I do want to make money.
He tried to pass as I can recall, he tried to pass a border security bill that was killed by Republicans. I don't think this characterization of him as an open borders president is legitimate. I remember that Trump got
Only if you really stretch the definition of open borders.
3.5 years of doing nothing in the final 6 months. Oh, maybe I can do something. He said he
Doing
needed
nothing.
Congress to do. Hold on, he needed Congress to do.
Yeah.
The bill got killed. He did something executively, which is what Republicans said the whole time. You can do this executively. You don't need Congress to secure the border. The bill gets killed, and then he finally secures the border in the last minute before an election. And now all of a sudden, oh, he's the secure borders president.
Again,
to be
no one
clear,
buys that. You're explaining the switch from what was it before to 6 months before, right before the election, as it was open borders before. It wasn't open borders. It was people abusing the asylum process.
No.
It's not open borders. Open borders is we don't have a border, and the whole reason this spawned is because Ryan was like, "Wow, you're good faith for saying we should enforce border policy," which has always been a Democrat position. Not a single Democrat is saying we want open borders.
You're right. Right. No one
And-
literally says open borders. They just say it in much more artfully and tasteful ways. You're right.
Yeah, it's funny because it's one of those things where you go, huh, God, he must not be open borders. Listen to Soy Pill; he's explaining it so well. It is a little hard to
Thank you.
explain why there were nonstop migrant caravans and why the border crossing numbers were so high and why the asylum seeking numbers were so high, and most troubling, why the number of asylum seekers who, rather than get all the work benefits and healthcare benefits that asylum seekers get by law, chose not to register because they would rather not get those benefits and disappear into the country. And I think the number is like 2 million or so. Like, why those people? And God knows that's a very scary thing to think about. Like,
Yeah,
why
2
they
million brown people is crazy.
no, 2 million people who
I
would
hate the Browns.
2 million people who would prefer not to be registered with the system over getting paid to be here with a valid registration and being part of the asylum system.
Why does that scare you?
Because you can infer a number of motives from that, some of which are sinister.
Wait, I'm
But we
sorry.
can-
This
hold
is
on.
coming from
We
the
can
guy that was
understand
like,
there are
look, I know
reasonable
he shoved her to the
reasons.
sidewalk, but there's a million reasons he could have done that. It's probably justified. And when you think, why would 2 million people not want to be registered with the fucking administration where any fucking 4 years could flip to the mass deportation guy or the, hey, let's revoke DACA or re-migration, not want to register? Well, it's probably sinister. You can infer many sinister implications, dude. You're so fucking insane.
Okay, let me read some super
no,
chat.
no, 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 no. Wait,
What flag on the play? I gotta
hold on,
get.
wait.
Gotta
One-
get.
Wait,
One
no,
obvious
Sid,
difference
I'm throwing-
is that there's fucking 2 million of them. So in
Okay.
the case of
Okay,
one,
okay,
you have to figure out which one is true. With 2 million, if I can think of some sinister implications, it's going to be true of some subset, even if it's not true of everybody. Fucking
I
obvious.
think that at least
Yeah.
some portion
no,
of ICE
Soipel,
is
no,
sinister.
No, you too. Stop.
I'm just
Stop.
inferring.
No, my money's more important than all of
Nick
your
will
arguments.
never get his money.
My money's more important than all of your arguments. I'm just
can it's not an argument, Wick, but can I just say I have to head out in like 5 minutes? It's about like 2 a.m. in Spain. I should really get to bed. Yeah.
Okay, if
Canadian
you
and
have to go,
Spain. Why
I'll
are
give
we
you
listening to
a
this guy?
closing right now, and then
Sí, señor.
yeah, give us your closing statement, and I'll let you dip. Tell people where they can find you. Jim.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, cool. Yeah, you can find me on @LilBabyGandhi on Twitter. Don't really have much of a closing statement, but thank you so much, Soy Pill, for being here. It was really a pleasure to interact with you and get to do this debate with you. Gen Z and Ryan, I wish you the best. Wouldn't say it was a pleasure speaking to you, but it was definitely an interesting conversation, and I'll definitely see you guys around.
Okay.
Take care, guys.
day.
Have a good night.
It was a pleasure. I'll say it was a pleasure. Good to meet you. Sir.
Okay, take care.
Good to meet you, man. See you.
Really good.
$5 from my listening library to say the administration is actively engaging in rhetoric that is causing people to be more upset by calling at least 2 murdered people domestic terrorists. Thank you for the $5.
Actually, that is a good question. Would you say that the Waltz refusing to say, no, let's grant that they never said this. They never said don't interfere. Is Waltz saying don't interfere worse than the administration calling them domestic terrorists and explicitly lying about their motives?
Is it worse?
Yeah.
I mean, I think they're both pretty bad.
Okay, come on, man.
Okay, equal
like, take a
badness
fucking
is the
stance,
answer.
dude. Like, Jesus Christ.
$5.
Bad things are bad.
Oh,
$5
okay.
for audacity.
I think the Holocaust
I think
and
the
spilling
two-
my
I think
burrito
the-
on the floor 10 minutes ago were both
Okay,
bad
you guys
things.
are giving $20 answers for $5 questions.
Well, that was a good $5 question.
Okay, $5 question from Audacity to Soy Pill. Question
Mm-hmm.
for Soy Pill: did ICE deport his comforter?
Well, a comforter like my bed comforter? No, it's just pushed over to the side over there. I've got a body pillow too. I can't show the skin on stream. It's like naked Waluigi. Someone got it
Gotcha.
for me.
$5 from Robert Paulson. Blowing whistles, cussing at cops, yelling are all protected speech. Funny how Ryan lumped it all together. You want to respond to that one?
Let me see. Can you put it on screen again? Because I wasn't listening at all.
Sure. Blowing whistles, cussing at cops, yelling are all protected speech. Funny how Ryan lumped it all together.
They are all protected speech, but I don't see how I lumped them all together.
Okay.
Well, because
Well,
you
you did, but I
lumped
don't
it
know
in
why
with the
it's bad.
obstruction that may or may not justify, in your eyes, the killing.
There's tons of stuff that's the protected speech that can become illegal in the right context. The First Amendment issue is just kind of not the point. Like, you have a First Amendment right to free speech, and if you engage in a criminal conspiracy by agreeing to do a crime, that's not protected. It's a criminal act. Like this, it's just not. There's no real connection between the 2 points.
I'll give you a good one. United States versus Waweru. It was a federal prosecution under the exact statute that we're dealing with, 18 U.S. Code 111, about impeding and interfering with officers. This guy Waweru got convicted under the statute for, quote, an aggressive stance and uncooperative behavior during deportation proceedings. So nothing even physical. It was an aggressive stance and
When was this
uncooperation.
case?
Well, to be clear, this guy was
When was it?
Kenyan, so he's black. So like, they're maybe just appearing to be black is like aggressive to these guys. But like, yeah,
You said when was it,
I don't
Wick?
agree.
Yeah, when was it?
2008.
Oh,
2015.
that bastion of good faith is back.
It's
Good to see you,
obviously
buddy. I missed
obviously
you.
a joke, Ryan.
missed you.
Oh my god.
$5 from Chib One.
And I was talking
to say
about the
if
people
Trump-
who
hold
got at him. To be clear, not you two.
Trib One, $5. If Trump had the standard Gen Z and Ryan are applying to Deps, Trump wouldn't have won primaries in 2020, nor 2024, let alone gaining presidency in 2024. Thank you for the $5. $5 from Mad Mulligan. Henry David Thoreau and Martin Luther King both broke laws to challenge the system. Civil disobedience requires accepting consequences. Pretti and Good acted rebellious.
This is actually a very important point, and I'm not even trying to score points in the debate here. I'm just going to say it as like somebody who does law for a living. if you do civil disobedience, you must expect that it ends in arrest. That's part of the American tradition of civil disobedience. And because you should expect it ends in arrest, you should take that into account when you start getting arrested. I'm not even trying to make this into an argumentative point. I'm not trying to say anything about what the officers did and whether or not it was excessive or unjustified. I'm just saying if you are someone who wants to protest in the way protests have been done in Minnesota, when it comes time to get arrested, hands on your head, get on your knees, get arrested, right? Like this is
What if you just have a gun with you but you don't touch it?
you. I mean, that's you have a Second Amendment right to do so.
So should you expect to be shot?
No.
Okay. Well,
But
we've clearly seen that might be the case now.
Hold up.
Just for having the
And this is
gun.
important. I think me and Ryan will both concede that Pretti getting shot, with the benefit of hindsight, was a mistake. The question is, was it an objectively reasonable mistake based on the fact that a gun was called out and then a gunshot happened about a second later? That's a hyper relevant factor that you haven't addressed. I'm curious what you think about that.
Yeah, no, this is curious because people got on my case for this. I fully believe that this is assuming a thing, right? If the gun went off when they took it from him and they all got spooked and they shot him, if that firing is the thing that they thought was him firing a gun at them and then they shot him, then yeah, that's an accident and not them intending to kill him. But the poor part is their actions and their assumption and their incompetence. And the same way that I use the acorn falling on the roof of that police car, which is much more absurd, but it's like if that guy had shot a guy, it would have been reasonable for him to think, after thinking he was getting shot at, to return fire. But he's so incompetent that he thinks a fucking acorn falling on the top of a car is a gunfire is because of his poor training and trigger finger and reactions and all the other rhetoric that's amping these people up. So yeah, sure.
Yeah,
but the gun going off was them being incompetent, and that's why it's their
just
fault.
to be clear, the accidental discharge things, I don't see evidence for that. The videos that I've been shown are all very like slowed down, and there's artifacts and there's no recoil. Like when it goes off or supposedly goes off, the guy's gun hand doesn't like jerk back like you'd think so.
Wick, have you seen a 400-pound man fire a gun? Like the
Doesn't.
gun barely moves. They're huge.
Yes, because they're pointing it and they're ready. Have you ever seen an accidental discharge?
Yeah, no, I have. I was making a joke about them being fat, Wick. Okay.
I actually agree with Wick where I looking at the video, it doesn't seem convincing to me on the accidental discharge theory. I can't rule it out, but it has not convinced me. But there's other similar scenarios that would fall in the same vein. Like if they yell gun, 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 they look down, the holster's empty, and now he's got that actually starts being like, oh no, where is the gun, right? Like there are many scenarios where
would you still call that incompetence?
Are you asking legally or morally?
I'm not asking either. I'm just asking if you think that's incompetent.
I don't know. I would talking to watching what Connor said about it and what law enforcement people who've said about it. It seems like that kind of could happen.
I didn't say obviously it could happen. It did happen. I'm asking you if you think six people holding a guy down, not communicating that they took the gun, that being mistaken as, oh, he's got a gun, and then shooting him is incompetent.
I don't. But the point I'm saying is I don't know because it's very easy.
Dude, that's so
in 2020 hindsight with 8 angles of the video in slow motion to say they should have done better. But it does seem like when I listen to Connor or when Nate or the different people who have analyzed this from a law enforcement perspective, even people who are critical of it, they kind of seem to think that there's room for error in these things short of incompetence.
Yes, former law enforcement informs us that actually law enforcement fucks up like this all the time.
Okay, but we're doing the thing. We're giving $50 answers to $5 super chats, and I want to get through these. $5 from Audacity. Yeah, quote. Yeah, I purposely put my hand on the stove. Yeah, it hurts tremendously. Yeah, I know fire is hot, but someone else turned it on. End quote. $2 from Chib. You can blame Nick Shirley lying for why ICE is there. $5 from
Wait, I thought
Visha.
there was just a disproportionate amount of illegal immigrants in the Canadian border state.
$5 from Visha. Question to Soy. Why do you think Ryan and Gen Z are un-American traitors who twist and turn to defend King Trump?
That's a good question. I don't know. Why do you guys lick the boot for Trump so hard? Is it for
I
money?
was literally,
or is it because you genuinely believe it?
I was about to make a joke about how good the boot tasted because I swear that's y'all's favorite like comment. I see it all over X. Like bootlicking is like the word of the day. So I was about to steal your thunder.
Yeah. Well, I already
Oh,
made the joke to Ryan, to be clear. So
yeah.
I've
If,
done
You did say it earlier.
if I'm going to give the long answer to a short chat to annoy Wick, it's because the left has abandoned America's moral proposition and can't be trusted with power. Watch the debate on my channel to see why.
do you think that Trump can be trusted with power?
I didn't vote for him, so
I
probably.
didn't ask if you voted for him. I asked if you think he can be trusted with power.
I obviously didn't think he was sufficiently trustworthy for power to get my vote. So I actually have serious issues with that.
Okay.
That is the reason I didn't vote for him.
Okay.
Okay. $5 from Jesus 4K. Jesus. Okay. Conservatives are more likely to be violent criminals than immigrants. Example, that ghoul that assaulted Representative Omar. Thank you for the $5. $10 from Trib1. Well, now we're getting into the high stuff.
Mm.
So, ICE is there in large numbers because of Nick Shirley vid and MAGA racism. Somalian doesn't mean illegal, but ICE was sent anyway, then protesters, then Renee, then more ICE, then Alex.
That's an interesting. Wait, I want to ask. Do you guys know what percentage of Somalis in Minnesota are legal citizens?
I have no clue.
I don't know. It's probably high because we had a refugee program, and that makes it like you get status much faster than you would in a normal immigration.
Yeah, because the Somali Civil War and all
I,
that. Yeah,
I,
it's over 90%. It's like a
I
vast
guess it's
majority of these
high.
people.
I don't know the answer. Yeah, I take your word for it. I don't know.
$5 from Radell PPB. Ryan is full of it. Why else would they be able to racially profile people? You think they did that for people in prisons? This is an awful point. I'm not sure what point.
So what he's
specifically.
saying is
I can ask.
Ryan is saying were they to cooperate, that there would be much less turmoil. I think there would be some less. I don't think this would stop what you were seeing with ICE and protests because this is a campaign of mass deportations. This guy's saying there was a recent Supreme Court ruling that you are allowed to include racial profiling, among other things, when you're identifying someone to screen for illegal immigration. And he's saying, well, if that's the case, if it was just them trying to cooperate through prisons, why would they need to do this? But I actually don't know if that makes any sense because they would.
Okay.
Ryan's
I'll let
argument
Ryan
is they're
respond
not cooperating, therefore they need to racially profile, right?
Go ahead, Ryan. You can respond.
Yeah, I mean, I think Soy actually steel manned it pretty well there. To be honest with you, I mean, I think that it's the truth is whenever you have an enforcement campaign, there's going to be more interactions with enforcement and people, and there's going to be with more interactions, there's going to be the chance for things to go wrong. So part of it is just the efficiency thing and trying to reduce the numbers, where it's like the less interactions you have, the less likely there is to be a violent incident.
Okay. Oh, just as a personal thing, gang, I am a little lesson now from all these super chats, but at the beginning of the night, we were $500 away from being the first month ever that I break 10K on a single month.
Still won't buy
income
YouTube
on
Premium.
this. So again, if you want to throw me money, today's the day because I want to break that.
I'm calling for a
more.
complete and total shutdown of all super chats
Jesus.
going into Wick's YouTube until he buys YouTube Premium, until we can figure out what the hell is going on.
$5 from the Trib One to say, but the obvious answer to the prompt is lack of accountability from this administration. Neither Gen Z nor Ryan can justify Christie and Trump's messaging post kills.
In fairness, I don't even know what the prompt is.
Fair enough.
But to be clear, you do say they were dishonest. You won't say lie for some reason, but you acknowledge they're just completely being dishonest about the framing post shootings of both of these cases.
I mean, I'm not. The thing is, like, I'm not exactly sure which statements you're referring to. So
we looked at it together when they said
the one
individual
that
intended.
through.
Like when
Yeah,
Stephen
yeah,
Miller
but-
says
but-
this looks like a situation where an individual wanted to do maximum damage and massacre law enforcement.
Yeah, and
Or sorry,
that's
that
the
wasn't Stephen
statement
Miller, that
we
was
went through,
McLaughlin.
And I said that I thought I said that was wrong. So I don't know.
But
Well, I'm just
here's the
saying,
thing.
like, will you just say it's a lie?
I don't know. It's a lie.
Okay.
So
No, that's all we need. That's all
No,
we
no,
need.
I
That's
got
really all
you.
we need.
I got
Okay,
you.
$5 from Lord of the Nerds. I can't take soy being this dumb over and over. The speaker implies, the listener infers. You can say what you infer, not what someone else implies. And he gives me a couple, so I'm gonna read
Okay,
them all
let's
in a
go.
row. $2 from Lord of the Nerds says it's only because it's only the basics of communication. $5 again from the same thing. Isn't there a video of Wick lying to Sitch and Adams' faces while describing the play-by-play of ICE videos? Why should we believe this liar now? To respond to that last part, then I'll give it to Sawyer.
For
can't
someone,
believe
there's
you
wait,
found my
wait. To
alt
be
account.
clear, this guy's trying to criticize our communication and then very poorly tries to elucidate his point over 3 super chats. Like, tough shit, buddy. That was awful.
No, he can
Oh,
do as
it's
many
really
super
hard for
look.
me to
He can do
type
as
when
many
I'm
super
yelling
chats
at
as he
you.
wants. We
This is
love
my
this
alt
guy.
account. Shut up, man.
We love this guy. Anytime you want to call me names and you super chat me, I love you. You're the base. But to answer your question, is there a video of Wick lying to Sitch and Adams' faces? No, there is not.
What he's saying
that
is
does
the
not
way that
exist.
you interpreted that video was not a lie. You just interpreted it differently. And Stephen Miller and Christy Nome and all these people who are just lying, they just have a different perspective on what happened. Run over also means bump slightly with the corner of your car.
Yes.
Out of curiosity,
Please.
and I'm no basis, no clue if this will happen. Investigation will unfold. If they find that Pretti was part of these signal chats and he made overt, explicit statements about obstructing law enforcement and/or doing harm to law enforcement, would you concede now that they're no longer
No,
lying?
in fact, they could literally have a note written from him where he says, I'm going to go out and I'm going to just gun down 5 people. But in the case and what I've seen, nothing justifies what happened. Now, had he brandished that firearm, had he attempted to assassinate them, yeah, of course they should have gunned this guy down. But from what I've seen of the video, from what I understand, no, nothing that he had, like this video of him kicking this car and having violent intentions. Yeah, maybe this guy's a little unhinged. I've heard some statements, it's fog of war, that like his family's like, yeah, this guy's getting a little weird. This does not justify the actions they took that I saw in the video. Not at all.
And
And
for
the
the
reason,
for the record, I
just
have
to piggyback,
no
if I
idea.
may, just to piggyback off that, like even if, again, there was a signal chat that he was like, I'm going to go massacre cops. Let's say they found that, right? That doesn't, unless you can show me that Stephen Miller, Christy Noam knew about that before they said what they did, they are still lying. They had no reason to believe him.
And here's an olive branch because you brought this up earlier.
Hold on,
Ryan.
you say aha, but that's
Because
true.
yes, because no, I agree, it is true. And now you're discovering why we cannot analyze these things with the benefit of hindsight and instead have to do so in the moment.
Hold on.
No,
I
Gen
would
Z.
bet you money. I will
wait.
bet you $500 right now that you will not find those in the signal chat.
And to be clear,
Well,
Gen
you
wanna
Z,
take
if
that
they were
bet?
if Stephen Miller had come out and said an assassin tried to murder federal agents and this was your response, which is what he said, and then said, we know this because we have leaked chats which we will soon reveal, I would have a completely different stance on the idea of, oh, well, maybe they're not lying, because they would imply that they have a reason to believe this and not, hey, they're obviously amplifying this just based on vague evidence in the same way Trump did with the Renee Good thing until they showed him the video and he's like, oh, wait, maybe I'm fucking wrong. But to be clear, with the Kyle Rittenhouse thing, there was like some speculation like, oh, here's a video of him saying, man, I'd like to shoot those shoplifters, right? I don't think this had anything to do or change the situation at all in the videos that we saw, because that was not what he was doing, shooting shoplifters. He was shooting people that were trying to attack him, which again I thought was justified.
Okay.
Yeah, well,
$5.
and just to be clear, I'm not
Okay.
saying I still agree. Yeah, the statements in the moments, without any sort of this evidence to back it up. Yeah, I'll say it's a lie. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I'm just saying
I appreciate
if it
that,
can be,
unironically.
yeah. And so that's why I'm not going to bet you, because honestly, I only take bets of things that I know the answer to already. If I don't
Fair
know the answer, by the way, soy
Didn't-
pill. Don't forget,
I was going to say,
gonna
yeah,
owe
didn't
me.
we have a bet that like Trump wouldn't run for a third term? Are you 100% sure that won't happen? Because I'm not 100%
Oh,
sure
yeah.
it will, but like
I'm
you're
100% sure it's not.
100% sure it won't.
But if he doesn't, you owe
I owe-
me and Gen Z an assault weapon.
No.
from
If
that
he
debate.
does, I owe you an assault weapon.
No, because
That may be
if he
true
does,
because
you would
we're
have won
arming
the
up to
bet.
go stop the
No,
government.
I
That's right.
understood
Hold
that,
on.
but my implication was like, look, if I lose the bet,
No,
nothing
I was
happens. If
promised
I
an
win the
assault
bet, I
weapon.
still lose because I'm going to pay money to help me defend against the Trump
No,
authoritarian
no, I
regime.
want-
That was what we did, right?
Pay what you owe.
My-
You got a few years.
We'll look at
Okay,
the pot.
this is y'all's issue. It's not my issue.
Look, if
$5
I'm on
from
record
Audacity.
saying I'll buy you a gun if I lose, then sure. But I'm pretty sure the idea was I wanted to give you guns to help me defend against Trump
Okay.
authoritarian third
Okay.
regime,
Okay.
which you
Okay.
would if you ran for a third term. But maybe I'm wrong.
$5 from Audacity. Go watch Nate the Lawyer's breakdown for the legal. Best subjective opinion so far. Fair enough. $5 from Robert Paulson. Zero doubt in my mind, Ryan has put his fist through some drywall. Guess that means he is at risk of getting shot for a week or so. First of all, Robert, do you have any evidence of this, or are you
Yeah,
just
what?
saying shit?
Or is
I
it
will
just
say that's very perceptive. I definitely put my fist through drywall. But
Okay,
yeah, that's
fair
why I don't go around and assault cops.
wait? Is that like, are
$5?
you being serious? Have you actually done that?
Oh.
Yeah, when I was like 18. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
fair enough. Robert Paulson, the Oracle. Okay, confirmed. $5 from Audacity. Lawyers speculating over every detail of evidence? Unheard of. Anywho, here's a video of Thomas Binger arguing intent based on a single pixel. Thank you for the $5. $10 from Laser. If I run someone's driver's license and dispatch tells me the person has alerts for officer safety, which is based off of previous interactions with police, my alertness for potential danger increases. So, didn't they say he had no ID on him?
I was gonna say that's
Yeah.
true. Did that happen? Like,
Well, we'll see if any of the officers there
Mm.
recognized him if they were present at the one before. My inclination is probably not, but you never know.
Yeah, that would be a weird coincidence. There's 3,000 of them there. Odds are unlikely, but who knows?
wait, I have like a random
$10.
question from my chat. Can I ask it real quick? It's not a
Yeah,
super
real
chat.
quick.
Okay, so if Kyle Rittenhouse, he like waved his hands up and he tried to surrender himself to the police, right?
Yeah.
Okay, if like 6 cops had come to arrest him, one of them took the gun, and then he said, "I got the gun," and the other guy heard gun and then shot him in the back. Do you think that would have been incompetent?
The signal difference there is with him waving his hands, walking up, I surrender, I surrender.
Mhm.
That basically, you've now set the predicate that this is a peaceful surrender. This is exactly, you can see with all this number of mass shootings, the Parkland kid, he surrendered peacefully, was taken in with no issue. There's
Mhm.
several, there's
Well, wait, but
multiple,
also
multiple
Alex
examples.
Pretti didn't shoot anyone. Like,
No,
to be
no, but no.
clear.
Well, the cops didn't know that Rittenhouse would have shot anybody. They just see this kid saying, "I surrender, I surrender."
No, I know, but he had
My
just
question
shot
to you:
3 people,
If
and so
if
he still was
Pretti,
fine, right? And it's
don't need
like,
to get you don't need to get this complicated. If Pretti had not grabbed, the officer or physically, I don't want to load it. If Pretti had not, committed a crime when he
Mhm.
physical
interfered with the
obstruction.
officer and then had not resisted arrest, and we can get into pepper spray if you want to, then it's obviously incompetence. Like the situation is predicated on the resistance and the difficult arrest.
okay,
If
in the
you're
Kyle
if,
Rittenhouse
if you're in a
situation, right
peaceable
before
arrest
they
scenario,
arrest
it's
him,
totally different.
they pepper spray him, and he's like, so he's like kind of flailing a little bit. Then is it incompetence, or is it like justified to shoot him?
See, this is
And on
presupposing.
circumstances, there's
We were
facts.
we
You know the facts.
No,
Yeah,
I'm
Ryan
making it
and I-
up. Just assume everything I say is the objective reality of what happened. He goes to surrender, and they're like, "Look out, he's got a gun!" And they pepper spray him. Then they take the gun away. Someone hears gun. He's like, "Oh God, the pepper spray!" And then they shoot him in the back. Is this justified?
That probably is not justified, but they
Wait,
don't
why
have
not?
any
Okay, let's-
facts that would make
let's-
this one
let's-
justified.
Okay, we've gone down this chain. $10 from Oh My God, It's Soup. Wick, you don't understand.
True.
They were in
Kyle
the street.
didn't have a phone.
In this video that was found from like 11 days ago. Guess ICE has justification to shoot everyone. LMAO, these pro-ICE people give me brain damage. Thank you for the $10.
Can I respond to that? Because I'm
Yes.
just this is one of my biggest frustrations is people making this point that we're making the argument here that protest equals death penalty. Even resist arrest equals death penalty. No one that I know, at least no sane, reasonable person, is making that argument. We are all arguing that if you create a situation where an officer now has an objectively reasonable fear of his life or serious bodily injury, that's what creates the risk where things can turn deadly. And you know, the proof is in the pudding for all this. For people saying that ICE is just going around indiscriminately shooting people and killing people that are just protesting or just blowing their whistles, that's obviously not true because we have every shooting we've got like 10 different angles showing the
yeah.
shooting.
To be
But guess
clear,
what? People are filming with
Anyone
no
saying
issue.
this is being dishonest. I'm not saying that ICE is trying to just go out and execute people. It's based on what I can see, incompetence and reasonable standards being completely stretched. I don't think they're out there trying to kill people.
I will
on
say
purpose.
this.
I super appreciate that. You should tell Pisco.
Does Pico think
Yeah.
like they're trying to
I will
kill
say
people?
this real
Yeah,
quick.
he said that.
Yeah,
Actually,
I
you know
don't
what?
think that they're going around to
Speaking
shoot
of
people,
Pisco.
but I do think that the escalation is the goal and it is by policy. And the evidence I'd give like that, right? First of all, Hallman took that policy away, right? So it implies it was there. And second of all, they have throughout this administration, right? Throughout this administration, they have pushed the idea of self-deportation. They have given incentives for self-deportation. You get this much money if you self-deport. We know Stephen Miller was mad that the numbers of deportation in 2025 did not meet the Biden numbers of deportations for 2024, and he was trying to get the quotas up. He implemented quotas. This escalation is by design. They want immigrants to be scared, right? They want them to deport before they have to go in and grab them. And this is a policy decision. So they may not be going around intending to shoot people, but they are going around, and I think we have evidence from whistleblowers violating their Fourth Amendment rights, violating their First Amendment rights. We have plenty of videos saying, don't record us. And thank God people didn't listen to that for these two cases, right? And they're violating their Eighth Amendment rights. I've seen tons of videos of them engaging in unreasonable uses of force while people are already pinned down, being handcuffed, getting pepper sprayed in the eye, right? It's just,
Do we
I
have a
don't know.
single
This is
example of a bystander who's like on a sidewalk, for example, just standing there filming? Do we have a single example of them getting punched, tackled, pepper sprayed, tased? Anyone? Just a single example.
I would
a
argue that
single
the Alex
example.
Pretti
Yeah,
example
I
is
can give
pretty
you a whole
clear,
bunch
actually.
on the. Yeah, I can give you one. There's
Of
a
someone.
video of
Okay, if you
a
got a
bunch
video,
of.
yeah, sure.
Yeah. Let me
Because
find it.
And wait, as you're looking for that, because we're a little bit over, and I do have this work crisis, which is why I was late.
Sure.
I'm probably gonna have to duck out. As much fun as I'm having, gang.
Okay.
Wait, Brian, before you go, I know you were shitting on Pisco on Twitter, but I just pulled my audience, which 69 people voted and said Pisco won the debate, which is now the new objective standard of who
Wow.
won the word war debate.
Well, you know what they should have done if
They
they
should
felt
have
that
showed up.
strongly. Voted during the fucking debate when the
They
votes
weren't there.
counted.
They were watching it online.
This is.
I
You can
think
vote
well, there's
online.
also evidence
You
that
can vote online.
I saw there were the votes actually were tallied incorrectly. Someone pulled a box of them out from under the table, and we have to go and
yes.
storm the Capitol and stop
So
it.
you want to overturn the results of the election?
Well, yeah, because I know it was false. Though.
Yeah, okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
I mean, the funniest thing about Pisco being pissed about that, since you've got me on this fucking topic,
He's
about
not
Pisco
pissed
attorney,
actually.
Yeah.
I just like teasing him for it.
Is that I've got 600 subs and he's got 26,000 on YouTube. So the idea that I somehow rigged a popularity contest in my favor
he doesn't
is
think
pretty
they rigged it.
goddamn funny.
It's the idea of the kind of people, the kind of audience you were up against. With the other two right wingers, right? Like I think Pearl is just so objectively bad that of course she's not going to win. So, but there were Proud Boys in the audience. That's the kind of audience you had.
They rigged all the debates except for they didn't rig those other two. Just
well, I didn't say it was rigged. I'm just saying you got a biased audience. That's it.
Okay.
It is what it is. But anyway, gang, it's fun. I don't have a closing statement or anything because I didn't have an opening statement. But all I would say is, I think it is important that people learn about the interplay between cooperation and having a sane immigration system. It's an important issue. So look into that. The other thing that really does matter is just having like an understanding that there's a difference between legal and moral. So a lot of the times when people say, we got a super chat that said this, like, how could you trust people who are lying? They were murdered. Well, murder is a legal term.
Sounds like a closing
You
statement.
don't know that they were murdered. So even when your super chatter said that, they're loading the dice on murder and then
Dark Gigas, I
complaining
see
about
you
lying.
trying to troll.
One
You
thing
can't
that we
get
can
me.
all do is just take a
Although I
step
did
back
acknowledge you,
and
so
try
maybe
to
you did.
appreciate that there is some nuance in some of these things and that they're a little bit complicated. Anyway, I'm Ryan. You can find me at my channel, Ryan Natural Law.
Ryan, last good faith question. Would you let
was there a first?
Yeah, first and last good faith question. Would you let 5 ICE agents without a warrant enter your house and fuck your wife?
No.
Okay. So the boot doesn't go that far deep.
But the good news is, based on your past interactions, if those were Biden's ICE agents and they came in and raped you, you would still vote for them.
Yes.
So
you're right. I would still vote for Biden's rape squads over Trump.
Okay. Thanks for coming, Ryan. Really appreciate you. Check him out. I got a link to his channel in my YouTube description. Give him a follow. All that. Thank you. But you asked for a video, and I have provided. Are you ready?
Let's see. I've not seen this, so let's see. Okay, yeah, that's
Is that just a drive-by pepper spray?
Yep, just a drive-by pepper spray. This isn't the only type of video, okay, that we have here. This is the first one.
All right. I'll give you that one. You that was a good example.
Escalating by design, right?
That was yeah.
Dude.
So
Okay.
the question is though,
please.
so even if we say yes, that was bad, that was an excessive use of force, does that now justify if they were to get out and start arresting these people? Can these people start pushing back, fighting back on the scene, or do you submit to the arrest and go fight it in court, and then also do a 1983 suit for lots and lots of money?
Well, I agree. Obviously, the best possible outcome for minimizing harm would for them to be complying completely. But would you agree that if you pepper spray without any precedent or a bunch of random people on the sidewalk and then go to arrest them, also without precedent, that maybe them flailing around is not justification for shooting them, even if they're armed and not drawing their firearm?
It can be, but I think people putting a lot of emphasis on when you're pepper sprayed, your natural instinct is to flail. I've seen plenty of body cams. I've prosecuted plenty of cases where people have been pepper sprayed and it ensures compliance. There's a reason it is used in the escalation of force pyramid because it is a compliance tactic. If the default response when you pepper spray somebody is it's going to make them more belligerent, more angry, more flailing, I don't see why it would ever be included in the escalation of force pyramid.
I agree that it would definitely neutralize a threat, but the idea that pepper spray is going to always subdue someone and cause them to be docile is not true. Like,
No,
obviously,
it
yes, it
is a
could.
tool though. It's
Yeah,
a tool to
it's a
say,
tool to stop someone from like attacking you, right? Because they can't see anymore, and it hurts so fucking bad that you have like you're not gonna be like a wounded animal just slashing, you know. But like this is not like a like oh we gotta pacify this guy, like put him down and make sure he stays down. Pepper spray, like that's not what that's for. It's to stop someone who's being aggressive towards you.
yeah, no, I agree. It's just the whole point is, yeah, if the point is to escalate force until compliance is achieved, then by taking a step within the escalation pyramid, it's just completely consistent with use of force training
Right.
policy
No, I'm not saying
on the
pepper
courts
spray is
interpret these cases.
not justified, Jinsey. I'm saying if you pepper spray someone and somehow this causes them to not comply the way you want to, and they have a gun, this wouldn't justify shooting them.
Well, it potentially could. It's going to depend on the facts.
If
I
they
know it's a
didn't draw
classic.
their weapon.
If they don't need to have drawn it, if it looks like they're going for it, or if they have their hand on it. What if they have their hand on it and now they pin their hand onto the gun, but their hand is on the gun? They haven't drawn it,
Okay.
but
Even if ICE put, or this is Border Patrol in this case, if Border Patrol agents took his hand and put it on the gun in an attempt to restrain him, I still think that's their fault. Yeah.
no. He put his hand on the gun,
If he
and
puts
to
his
prevent
hand on, oh yeah, if he puts his hand on the
and I'm
gun,
saying to
then they
prevent
should
him
shoot
from
him.
drawing it. Yeah, to prevent him from drawing it, they pin his hand against his side so that he can't pull the gun out. That's what I'm saying.
And then they shoot him?
I'm saying if they did that, but he's not letting go, yeah, you could get the point. If his hand is gripped
If his
around
hand is gripped around the pistol, as in like he's trying to draw it, yeah, of course. But like he's not.
Yeah.
This isn't what happened. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay. We got a guy. He says he's been firearms and fitness.
No,
here.
if you
He's
have your
been,
hand on a gun,
doing
like
riot
gripped it,
control
it does
for
not have to
12
come
years.
out of the holster
Do
for you to
we,
be
mind if
reasonably
I
like, oh, that
bring
guy's
him
gonna
on
draw. You should
and
see
maybe
those
get a
fucking
little clarity on a few things?
Wait,
Is that okay?
Is he going to be
Wait,
more on my side or
I
Swipe?
don't know. I don't know.
If he's on mine, I'd
I
say
know this
also
isn't
bring
the
in Liberal
standard.
Cluck. I know he wants to get in. I know it's your show, but
Yeah,
but-
we're gonna keep it. I don't want to get it too crowded, right? And I
I
still got
understand.
some super chats, but while he gets
You
there,
just
let
I'll
me
be
get
fine.
through some more super chats, and then
he
we'll
puts
get
his
going.
hand on the gun, and
Okay.
you're like, well, he hasn't holstered yet, and then
Oh boy, I got a lot of. Give me a second.
it's just
And
pow.
we are just to let you guys know we're about $250 away, so keep them coming.
Oh my
NK Fund.
God. Just fucking
Keep
whore
'em
yourself
coming.
out. Like, next month is a completely, just like a border wick, the next month is a completely arbitrary thing. And you making $10,000 will happen regardless of whether or not it happens within the arbitrary confines of January or February.
No, we need it in the arbitrary confines. $5 from Dan Banna Debates. If ICE agents are scared, are so scared of the public, they shouldn't be federal agents. They need more training if constitutional rights scare them so much. $5 more from the same person. There were more violence in the Warsaw Ghetto too. Resisting tyranny typically involves more violence than bootlicking. Okay, so firearms and fitness. You are here. You have some thoughts. Go ahead. Floor is yours.
Hello, yes, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, cool. I'm sorry, I apologize for this. So just give myself a little bit of background here. I am actually trained in riot control, crowd control. I am a CCIT certified individual. For those that don't know, that means I'm a certified crisis
You read my question about
interventions
Rittenhouse, so I feel like this is only
trained.
fair. Oh, thanks, Toby.
Pardon me. 12 years of experience. I was a CO, so correctional officer for those that don't know. I know that may not seem like a lot, but considering I literally dealt with criminals better part of over a decade. Um, and been able to speak with them, de-escalate with them, and at times have to use force in order to make sure the population stays
Here's his
safe.
channel, guys. He seems
All
fine.
right. Let me start by saying that the ICE
Oh, AI
actions in
thumbnail.
the Alex Petty thing and the Renee Good are completely unjustified in any way, shape, or form.
Based.
Okay,
And
well,
it
we found
starts
out if he's
off.
on your team, right? Okay, sorry about that.
All
Go ahead.
good.
Yeah, I was scared with your channel name for a second there, but based. All right.
Let me start by saying this. All right, I'm on nobody's side. There's right and wrong, and right now, the current administration is all wrong. I'll fully put that out there. I'm not with the
Hate to break it to
fascism.
him,
I'm
but that
not
is
with
taking a side.
people trying to take over my fucking nice country and doing everything what seems in their power to destroy this country. I took an oath to the damn Constitution.
Okay.
All right, and I'm sorry.
No,
We're going
you're
off the
fine.
track.
Just okay. Well, while you're here, and since you have experience, I just have a couple questions, and we might just keep the balance. We might just. Sorry, man. I
Copy.
don't know you.
No,
Right?
I apologize.
No, you're fine.
Uh,
No, but I would like to have you on at some point to talk. But I guess the question would be, the activities of the ICE agents outside of the shooting. So when you see them, have you seen the video of the Alex Pretti tail kicking, the tail light? Where
yes, I've seen that. That has nothing to do with anything.
I
As
understand, but
somebody
no,
that
I'm just asking just for a baseline.
for a
Do
baseline
you
that it still
think
has
that
nothing to do with
the
anything.
ICE agents there acted appropriately towards Alex Pretti?
Um, the answer is that I thought they acted appropriately. If anything, they were a little soft on that. They could have arrested him for damaging state property at that point, and possibly tried him for that. However, they did not. They did not enact a arrest, and anything after that is a non sequitur.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
Um,
in fact,
just to get a
that just
baseline.
proves that had ICE been more competent and arrested him, he would be alive today.
Didn't they?
Indeed.
So hold on, just so we can see if we agree on the facts. Didn't they try to? At least they tried to take him to the ground.
No,
and then was able
negative,
to-
negative. The mere fact that they did not arrest him, it does not matter that they tried to. All right. The fact is, they had him on the ground. They had every possibility.
It's
They
because
were
the
using
Marines are
less
actually
lethals
trained
on the
from your
crowd. All right. There was multiple officers there. It wasn't a single officer
Wacky. I don't
there.
have to convince
You
them.
can't sit there and say that
First,
oh
they
they were
imitate
worried for
you
their
after
safety.
mocking you.
You had
So I
multiple
guess not
officers there
first, but
with
everyone's
lethal
gonna have
force,
the hat.
with less lethal force. All right, and the whole 9 yards. All right. So do not play that game. All right. I understand. I guess you're some kind of lawyer or something. All right, and I'm in love with you. You guys are the worst to deal with. Because,
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
No,
cool it
you're
with the
fine. It's just,
anti-Semitism.
I think it's
No, it's fine. I was just
Yeah.
asking as a pure fact of the matter. I'm not asking whether they completed the arrest or whether they could have. I'm asking if they attempted, they took him down to the ground, and whether he actually he entered the same exact position he entered a week later, which I think goes towards his. I don't know if he has training
You mean that
and how he can kind of go in the field position and then back out of it. So, and then he
So
got
what
back
you're
into the
saying
crowd
is
and then he couldn't do anything.
so you're saying is after seeing
You
constant
owned
force with
yourself,
ICE
Stinging Blade.
officers
It's a
being
bunch of
poorly
crayon eaters that you
trained and
spell
whatnot,
wrong.
seeing them use excessive force, that it would not be smart for them to go into the fetal position, them not give orders for them what to do. Because honestly, when people are in pain, they are using pepper balls in that example. And I don't know if you've ever been pepper balled before. That shit sucks. All right. As somebody that's used a lot of non-lethal in their time, that's been shot with non-lethal, all right, that shit sucks to deal with. And people, as we're trained in riot control and whatnot, tend to freeze up when they're in pain because they want to get away from the pain. So what you need to do is give clear instructions on what you want them to do because they want to comply. As a general rule, as talking to, first and foremost, I am 5'9". All right. I'm 250. I power lift and do strongman. All right. But I'm 5'9".
5'9",
I'm not an
250. It's
imposing
got to be
person
strong.
in any way, shape, or form. But I've had to deal with inmates that have been aggressive, high on drugs, narcotics, and the like. All right. And get them to the ground and get them to do what I need them to do. And in order to do that, they need to have clear instructions. All right. In order for them to act on it, and I can use the least amount of force possible.
Okay, just
So,
before you respond,
okay.
if they're like, I don't want this to be unbalanced. So if there's anyone
Oh,
who's more on the Gen Z side who wants to jump in and jump backstage, please, because I
Looks
don't want
like
this
you're
to be
being
just a
entirely too reasonable, sir. Can you not?
no,
no.
no, I'm
Look,
fine.
it's great, but I just
Yeah.
don't want this to be a
Yeah.
I apologize
So
if I'm coming off.
No, you're fine.
I do apologize if I'm coming off like really kind of aggressive here
No, you're
because
good. You're good.
that pissed me
let
off
Gen
quite a
Z
bit.
ask his question.
I think unfortunately, and I'm not going to dispute any of your training. And look, I used to be a prosecutor, and so I've dealt with law enforcement a lot as well. I'm with the dark side now. I'm with the defense bar, but I think you gave the game away when you came in and said both were
It's dark
unjustified. So
side,
just to be clear, then, do you think both are
a
murder,
dog
both are
whistle.
manslaughter, one's one, one's the other?
I don't
What's
think
your
so.
I believe these both are technically considered manslaughter.
okay? So that's why I think you gave the game away, because the Renee Good, I think, is a pretty emphatically justified shoot. And I don't want to go down the whole legal analysis again like we did earlier, but there's
We're not
case
here for
law.
that one, so we're not here for that one. I can explain at a different time why that it's not justified. Um, but going on to the Alex Petty one, like I said, these both would be classified as manslaughter in my personal
Well,
opinion.
give me the Renee Good one is what launched this into the national headlines. Can you give me a 30-second explanation on your legal analysis?
The legal analysis on this one is the officers went to initiate arrest. They put themselves in disadvantageous situation, i.e., putting themselves in front of a vehicle that they saw was going to be moving. All right,
Whoa,
and
hold on.
instead,
Sorry, I have
hold
to stop you there, because how do you're saying they could see the future and knew the car was going to be
didn't
moving?
say that. Hold up. Do you not have eyeballs? Can I not see somebody? All right, acting upon their vehicle. The windshield, as far as I'm concerned, was clear. All right,
He did a
you
whole
didn't just.
the
Hold on, no,
shooting
no, no,
officer
no,
the shooting officer
no,
did
no.
a circle around the car taking a video when the car was not moving. You're saying he should have reasonably foreseen that the car was going to be moved?
So what you're saying is you're not going to see the thing that you view as a threat. All right, you're not going to look at the person you were trying to obtain and not obtain. What's the word I'm looking for? Detain.
Radel, I see what you're saying, or Riddell. My point was just that Ryan's stupid point is that, oh, the only reason anything's happening is because the sanctuary cities aren't complying. This is the major reason. And the profiling needs to happen this way because if they didn't have the profiling, like, it would make their job harder. And if sanctuary cities just comply, they wouldn't have to profile. They just have to go after the people in the jails. That's what he's saying. So, like, the point is, if you presuppose the dumb idea that the sanctuary cities are the reason for the escalated conflict in significance, then obviously the profiling has to do with that. And otherwise, we would do the jail thing and not need it. This is not a steelman insofar as it's a good point. It's a steelman insofar as these two things wouldn't exist in the same area. You wouldn't need the profiling if you worked for the jails if they were cooperating, but that's not why it's happening. So
The fact of the matter is, I think it was manslaughter. The comments he made afterwards doesn't sound like a person that was, you know, in complete trauma and whatnot, calling her a fucking bitch.
Didn't you
All
say
right.
that the first step in your training experience is to attempt a verbal de-escalation, or like you said, to give clear
Yeah,
verbal command, right? Clear verbal commands.
clear verbal commands. Yep,
Okay,
verbal
so
commands.
you acknowledge the ICE agents that got out of their truck and
I want to say the fucking bitch line is as horrid and ghoulish as it is. I feel like if someone tried to kill me, I might say something like that. I think that's the least like damning thing of the whole thing, even though it's an indication of how he felt about it.
And we can discuss this. All right. The
no, no,
fact of the
no.
matter is,
Hold on. Sorry, I know you want to run away from it.
no. There's no running away. All right. You're
No,
running
no.
away
You're
from
holding. I'm sorry. You're holding yourself up as based on your training experience. It's an appeal to authority. You're saying I have all this experience, and I say that I'm sick of the fascist takeover, and these are unjustified. I'm asking you to explain your reasoning. And
Wait, guys, hold on. This is not deranged, all right? If someone's trying to fucking kill me, and I'm like have adrenaline going, and I'm like, holy fucking shit, you piece of shit just tried to kill me. Like, yeah, like I might say something like that.
have seen that she was entering into a state of panic, and therefore should have predicted that she was going to bolt. That's the only real analysis you've given so
No,
far.
that's not what I said. That's not what I said. All right. She was turning the vehicle, obviously, right? Because how does the wheel turn? How do you do that?
After she was approached, correct?
How does the wheel turn?
You turn the wheel.
Yes, you turn the wheel. What do you normally use when you went to turn the wheel?
Sorry, I missed the first part. What do you say?
What do you normally use when you turn the wheel?
Use your hands.
Yeah, well, as you look at that, all right. So, as an officer,
I don't
all right,
understand
I've been
his
trained to watch people's hands, to watch people's emphatic
no.
movements and whatnot.
God.
If I see somebody,
JP, yeah, obviously I don't think she was trying to kill him. I'm just saying the only thing about this shooting, the Renee Good shooting, that I'm like, this is probably the weakest attack is him calling her a bitch. Like, I can imagine many a world where if someone tried to fucking kill me, I might have some reaction like that.
video, she turns the wheel. and she doesn't back up. What are you talking about? She
No,
goes
she does
forward.
back up. Hold on, just as a fact pattern, she does back up first, and then she does turn the wheel to the right, and then advances.
So isn't that kind of a hyper
Oh, so the
relevant?
car's hold on, hold on. This then proves my point even further. The vehicle started moving. Get out of the way.
Wait,
That's fair. I'm not law
No,
enforcement.
there's no case law that allows you to stand in front of a vehicle. All right, as an officer.
there's a case where a guy jumped on the hood of a moving vehicle to try and stop the vehicle, then pulled the gun out, realizing, oh crap, I'm on the hood of a moving vehicle, I'm in danger, pulls out, shoots the driver. That was found to be a reasonable use of force. You said there's no case law for this? Do you know what the cases are?
I'll give you that. I may have misspoken on that one, so I will
Okay.
retract my previous statement.
Well, here's the thing. There's another case where, and sorry, this one is just like completely spot on, factually analogous, of a car that is stationary surrounded by federal agents, not even local, federal agents, not moving. The driver turns the wheel away from the agent, starts to accelerate slowly, and the agent perceives a reasonable fear, objectively reasonable fear of death or serious bodily injury, shoots and kills the driver, gets upheld as qualified immunity, objectively reasonable use of force.
Can you remind me of
Almost
the?
a
I want
one-to-one
to look
case.
that one
No.
up, Gen Z. Can you remind me of the name of it?
Tousis, Tousis, versus Billiot, Billiot.
And
Yeah.
just to be clear, in this one though, the guy had just been involved in a high-speed chase.
Yeah, he had been. So that
Yeah,
that
so
informed.
that is part of
that's
the
different.
like this
That-
is hold if I may just real quick. But like because I remember discussing this with Jebtan, like
Yeah.
this idea that we can just kind of ignore some of the circumstances that made it reasonable in that case, but did not exist in the Renee Good case, which I just don't see. Just because there's some circumstances that are the same, I think they were involved in a high-speed chase that this guy had demonstrated that he was willing to use his vehicle in a deadly manner that I don't think exists in the good
So
one.
so
That's
I'll
what I
tell you.
think that is the
I
issue.
agree.
So
It's not,
I'm with Wick on this one. That's
Yeah,
all
yeah,
right.
but
I did
just
not
let
know
him
that
respond because
part.
it's the
yeah,
totality of circumstances thing,
correct.
which yeah.
It's totality of circumstance. It's not a literal one-to-one case. You will never have a literal one-to-one case. But
You
the
just said
relevant
it's a one to
analysis.
one case.
Well, no, let him finish. Let him finish, please.
Yeah.
Jensen.
The
I
relevance for
apologize.
that is when you have, yes, in Tusis, you've got they went on a chase, they got him cornered, and then when he started to slowly move again, that's when they shot him. The relevance, analogous fact here is that it's the obstruction component of it. If you've got someone like Renee Good who was out there in the street actively obstructing for several minutes, who they now understand she's not just a bystander like we were told to begin with. She is an actively obstructing and impeding the operations of law enforcement. She is a hostile actor in this space.
Would you call her a domestic terrorist?
So hold on.
No, I
I'm
would
gonna
not.
give you
No,
an
stop.
I'm,
I'm sorry,
I'll give you
friendly,
plenty
but give me a second. Give me a second. All right, give me a second. Do you think that calling her a hostile actor, would she be a hostile actor in the same way that the guy who had just been pulled over for a high-speed chase is hostile? Do you think these are analogous?
No, they're
No, they're
obviously
pretty different.
they are different, but they
They're
speak the
pretty
same.
different, not just a little different, but
They
the
speak to
fact
the
that she
same.
was honking her horn and being in the road is remarkably different, one might say, than someone who had just gone, what was it, 100 miles per hour just on a high-speed chase that they just pulled over?
I don't know the exact speed, but no, I'm conceding there is a factual difference. Like I said, every single case you
No, it
read
seems like you're
will be
painting a
factually
very big
distinct from
Hold
each
on,
other.
let him
But
respond. Let him respond.
the court had
I apologize.
specific legal analysis specifically directed at the question because the plaintiff brought up it wasn't reasonable based on the turning of the wheel and the slow speed. It wasn't reasonable to use this force. The court said that is irrelevant. It all comes under the totality of the circumstances. And once again, whether the officer, not her intent, because my friend
Yeah,
here
I
seems focused specifically on her intent, which is she's turning the wheel. What is her
Negative,
intent?
sir.
You understand the legal standard here is
Negative,
not
sir.
her
Hold on.
intent.
No, no, no,
The
no,
legal
no, no, no,
standard is
no,
the
no, no.
officer's objectively reasonable perception.
No. It's reasonable
That's not the
perception. That is
standard.
correct.
Well, wait, can I
Reasonable
comment? Because
perception.
I'm just reading this, and it says, in this instant, Billiot exited his car to stand before a stationary vehicle that was initially blocked in by traffic. He did not create the danger, and Tussis did when he began to move forward. So this is, for this to be one-to-one, when he stepped and stopped in front of the car, he would have to have not been putting himself in danger, whereas he maintained a position and actually slowed down and drew his firearm while the car was backing up. So, like, I don't know if you could apply this 1-to-1. There's, I think, a different reasonable standard there, right?
I never hold up. I never said it's 1-to-1. I said it's almost as close to 1-to-1 as you can get because cases are never going to be 1-to-1.
But
You said that 3 times
obviously,
already.
you
No, no,
can't
no.
just say, well, because of this precedent, and this is what I was saying before, I didn't know this case, but like, this is clearly not the exact same situation. It's close.
I never said
Thank
it
you,
was.
sir.
Right, but I'm saying you can't use this as like, well, legally there's no way they could get him. It's
I
like,
said
well, hold
there-
on. If he's getting out and he steps in front of the car, like literally, it seems by this case, if we use this as precedent, if he had stopped in front of the car and she wasn't moving, this would be okay. But as he is walking across the car and she's backing up and then he slows down, is this now him remaining in danger by not continuing to move? Like, there's a bunch of questions here. I'm not saying I have the authority on it, but you can't use this to apply whether or not he was justified in the same way that the guy in this case was ruled justified.
Can you say beyond a reasonable doubt that he knew, as a matter of fact, that he was out of the path of the car and he was not going to be hit? Can you say that beyond a reasonable
No, I
doubt?
can't.
Okay, then you can't prove a conviction.
I mean, I can honestly. I saw his from his perspective, and that's what kind of turned me on this, right? Um, it's pretty obvious to me based on his positioning. He knew where he was, right, in relation to the car. They weren't like miles apart. They were very close, very close.
Right.
He saw clearly her hand spin the wheel to the right, which was away from him, and he knew clearly that if he had simply stepped slightly to the left or to his right, it
Or
would
not
entirely
stopped
miss him.
moving, by the way.
But you're
Yeah.
inserting you're inserting a new fact, which is his having the thought that he could step to the side when we can't say that
He
he
had
had
the
that.
thought that
Well,
he had
because
the
I
thought
think
the
hold on,
shooter
one of
would not
the
move.
things that I believe is the case, like not only must the use of force be reasonable, but there also must be no other reasonable recourse other than that to avoid the danger.
Where are you getting that from?
Let me.
That's actually a use of force in almost every policy, like any federal policy, any state policy. Use of deadly force, which a firearm, any use of a firearm, any use of a firearm is considered deadly force in America. All right, it does not matter if you mean to wound, quote unquote, wing them, the like. All right, it is considered deadly force if you use a firearm. If you shoot somebody, shoot at somebody, it is considered deadly force. All right.
And
It's
also, I have
different
a
department.
question for Gen Z.
No, wait.
'cause-
Well,
no, I
Does
have,
an officer
I don't know.
does an officer have a duty to retreat if that's a reasonable recourse to avoid using deadly force?
No, but if there are others,
If, hold on,
right? Hold on,
hold on.
no,
Wick,
that's
if,
they
Wick,
don't.
if I may, Wick, if I may, Wick, if I may.
But
All
they
right.
don't. Okay.
You have a duty. You do have a duty retreat. All right. If the if you do if there's no reasonable belief that taking deadly force right now. All right. So say you don't believe any actions afterwards is going
yeah,
to
Toby, I
harm
was about to
somebody
point that
else.
out. Thank you.
All right.
Talking about
There's
what
no
happened
reasonable
before this
belief
and how many
that
shots were fired.
after
It's like I
this
kept reading it.
this minimal action. All right. If you move or don't engage, all right, that there's less bodily harm. For instance, when police give chase to somebody, all right, and they're going 1,000 miles an hour down the road, they may decide to stop the chase because the risk is outweighing the reward. They
Would
have
they
your
be
plates.
criminally
They know.
prosecuted if they did not stop the chase?
Hold on. Stop. All right.
Okay, you can say your piece. I'm gonna ask the same question at the end, though.
All right. So they may do that. Now, they also may see somebody weaving in and out of traffic, clipping cars and whatnot, and say, oh, if I do not stop them, there's a higher chance that they are going to harm somebody. All right. And I must get them stopped. There is no reasonable belief as a reasonable person to say that this
Some guy.
lady, if she had escaped that area, would cause more bodily harm to somebody. They have it. They have her plates. They have her on video. All right. If she had moved out, all right, and gotten away, all right, there's nothing stopping them from issuing a warrant for her arrest
Okay, so
and
my
taking her
question.
up
Okay,
and
so
done.
The
just
question I
to
was
let you
gonna
know.
wait. I gotta say this
Okay,
because
yeah, go ahead.
if the point here is that deadly force is only authorized if there's no other reasonable recourse, and you brought up the example of giving chase and how officers sometimes choose to stop giving chase, which is true. Yeah, that can be a policy decision. In my county, North Carolina, they do give chase, but the county next door, they don't give chase. My question to you: if they continue the chase all the way through, they do not stop, even though they can, like you said, sure, possibly they can, but if they don't stop, is that a crime? Should they be prosecuted?
It depends on their policies in the county and state laws of that state. This is not a federally recognized thing. So the answer is it could be. I don't want like I'm not trying to retreat from that, but it genuinely is genuinely is something that is state to state, county to county, and even sometimes locale to locale.
Is there a
And
single
Wick, I
criminal
want to add
prosecution
one
of an
last
officer
thing because
using case to suspect?
I don't know.
Go ahead,
Wait,
Swipehill.
because Gen Z, if you look at this case, I think it's relevant. And firearms, you brought this up, but the idea that like one, Renee Good was not in a 115-mile-per-hour chase right before this, right? She was car stopped.
Oh,
So
it was
this,
115.
it was a
I guess I
115
lowballed
mile
it.
per hour chase right before this with this other case, with the Billion case. And this is completely relevant to whether or not this was reasonable. As he's driving off, is like, oh, this guy might be about to accelerate very quickly. The other thing is, this guy fired one shot, not one through the face and then two through the side window. Like one shot and it stopped him, and that was it. So I think it's very hard to compare these things when they're like very disanalogous. Although on paper, if you zoom out a little bit, but like I think it's completely different.
I see you've been
So
getting your.
I will stop you on that one. The three shots are a no, never mind. A bad shoot's a bad shoot. A good shoot's a good shoot. It doesn't matter if you use 15 rounds. It doesn't matter if you use 1,000 rounds.
No,
All right?
it's
A
not
good
about the
shoot's a
number
good-
of rounds. Like I agree. Like when someone's like, oh, they shot this guy 27 times, and it's like, yeah, like if they were trying to stop the threat, I acknowledge this is obviously a good shoot. If they're trying to put down the threat, there's no like, oh, shoot him in the leg. I'm not a dipshit liberal. But if you're shooting them 2 times in the side, that means you already are not in danger because you're not in front of the car anymore, right?
See, this is the
No,
problem.
I'm with you.
If you only get your
Go
legal
ahead,
takes from if you only get your legal takes from Pisco, he's saying that each independent shot has to be independently justified, and it's just not the case.
That's not right.
9
That's not
9-0 Supreme Court
That's not what I'm
decision,
saying.
Plumhoff versus Rickard. So long as the initial shot is justified, so long as the remaining are within a quick succession, it's one. It's the I heard Connor say this. It's the perception reaction gap. So long as the initial use of force is justified, the rest of the shots are justified. That's a clear. Yeah, I just want.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I could probably steer this back to the Pretti thing, because that's another part of this that needs to
Wick, I do have to go
justify
soon.
me.
Just FYI, sorry.
Okay.
But
Well, if you need to go, I can give you an out if you need.
okay.
It's up to you.
Yeah. My out is I can't believe we're defending ICE to the degree we are. If we want this to stop, we should reform it. Gen Z, I think you're mostly good faith, so I do appreciate that, and you've acknowledged a few things. So I do appreciate it, even though I think your positions are fucking insane. At least you're trying to find some sort of understanding here, and I think you're trapped. We can save you. We can pull you out of there. We can make you like just a dumb libertarian instead of MAGA. So that'd be cool. Wait, did you vote Trump?
All 3 times, or does any time matter more than
like
another?
Ryan is already distancing himself from this and being like, well, I don't actually support Trump because of the lies, but like I'm just curious like how much you're distancing yourself from like how awful this is at this point, or if you're just kind of still fully on the train.
No, I voted all 3 times.
Why'd you ask that? Why'd just say yes?
Well, because I was honestly curious if you had like any one of them like that stuck out. But obviously, most people are sticking out as 2024 as being like, how could you vote for Trump after January 6th? And certainly, like, look, the criticism is not lost on me. It's just a matter of look, it's I'll use my big legal words, totality of the circumstances. I was not on board with the Kamala Harris train whatsoever, and I'm not one of these vote third party types and throw away your vote. So I was voting to stop her. Yeah.
Well, I agree with the last half of that sentence. I think you should be forcefully transgendered. Thanks for having me, Wick. Fuck ICE, abolish ICE, and I'm gonna go to bed. Thank you, everyone. Type 1 then to the deep state. Follow me on Twitter. I'm banned. Bye.
Okay. Bye. Sweet.
I hope you guys enjoyed that. I don't really have any updates for you. I'm just gonna get off right now because I got stuff to do. Love you guys. Thanks so much for tuning in, and have a good night.
Enter.
God damn it. I didn't. Sorry, I just saw this first name, last name. I don't know who Fort Robinson is, but thank you. I will ask him next time I see him.